Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rock and Turk Sports Show. My name is Rocco Foggio, and I'm one of the hosts of the show, and I've also been dubbed the #1 enemy of the fanboy. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host Justin, Get That Bum Out of Here, Turk, and Dom, the Ref Regio. For our new listeners, we're a couple former athletes turned coaches that will be bringing you the week's top national and local sports stories, and we'll be focusing heavily on the NFL, college, and high school football seasons, and discussing all the topics using our unique sports perspective and experiences that we've had as players and now as coaches. And now the new program, I usually start off with Rock's Rant. And today, with that, I find something during the week that kind of sets me off. I want to talk about it a little bit, and hopefully you guys can agree or not agree. But what I'm bringing up this week is something that it's been about a year old, almost two, and it was the Baylor situation that happened where you had the sexual assaults, the firing of the coach, the firing of school administrative personnel, and also with cases and lawsuits and settlements and all that. So recently, my rant is Art Briles should never be able to coach football ever again on any level. Okay, and Baylor. And I say, being a football coach and having played college football, this is a big statement. I think that Baylor should receive the death penalty to, number one, punish them for what happened, but also to scare the schools to clean up their acts. There's a new book that came out, and it's co-authored by two ESPN reporters, Paula Levine and Mark Schlabach. And they give a comprehensive account to date about the Baylor sex assault scandal and all the things that went down. I'm not going to get into a lot of the graphic stuff, but Briles, he's not the focus of the book, but he is a part of it, and he played a big role in aiding and abetting the rotten culture that was at Baylor at the time. And he took very questionable players with very sketchy backgrounds. He actively intervened on behalf of some of these players to keep them out of trouble, and at times insulated himself from the knowledge of things that are going on, so that Baylor couldn't get disciplined by saying he knew what was going on. And then also, you skirting players around the drug program, keeping administration and even the police from finding out about certain incidents. And that, number one, should be the main reason, because now he keeps saying that he didn't know anything, and he's looking to be coaching again back in 2018. I don't think it should happen. Now, the school also did not address these women, and sometimes they try to talk them out of following up with charges, or any attempt of them to search for justice was thwarted or turned away. And here's some of the things that the book had mentioned, that there were gang rapes of these girls on recruiting visits. All right, and it was seen as a rite of passage for these guys, and they also aided in these guys using drugs, heavy drug abuse. And potential recruits were told, this is how this goes down here. If you come to Baylor, this is what you can expect. Plus, they were winning. So, for a 17, 18-year-old kid, that doesn't know anything, especially some of these guys come from backgrounds where they might not, have the best, skew of how they should act. They say, hey, that's great. It's a party here. Now, part of the problem was Baylor's success, their financial obligations, their financial success, the new facilities that they built, Robert Griffith winning the Heisman, them being a college football playoff contender, Texas football culture just in general, and Art Briles, who at the time, he's a Texas legendary high school football coach, and, at the University of Houston, turned that program around to where he got to Baylor. When Baylor was in the doldrums, people, if you don't know, they were the worst of the worst. He turned that program in a short amount of time. And because of all that, that is why that I feel that the school hid what they hid, and he's denying things, and they wanted to create a program, and they figured, we're going to sell our soul to do it. Now, here's what I'm saying. Penn State was crushed for something that was just as bad, but only really 4 people knew about it. Sandusky, Petrino, and a couple of the administrative people. And it happened 20, 25 years before, the current program that they punished. And they got hammered. And to me, this is worse, because this was a culture of it and of covering it up, and so many people were in on it and knew about it and chose to do nothing. And especially, everybody's got a mom, and a lot of guys have sisters and girlfriends and wives. And is this the type of, would you stand for that if that happened to one of those people in your life? So I think, SMU got the death penalty for improper benefits and just making cash payments out to people, and they got shut down for a year. I think that either Baylor's football program should just get shut down, period, or they need to get a whole year of the death penalty, because this culture has stopped. Because believe this is not the only place where things are happening. Maybe not to that degree of seriousness, but there are things going on. So that's kind of my rant of the week. I say that Baylor should get crushed. I think Art Briles should not get another job. And I listen to a lot of ESPN radio, and there's a guy named Stu Gatz on the Dan Levitar show, and he keeps bringing this up. And now I know why, after getting some excerpts of this book, that he always says Art Briles has a special seat for him in hell. And now I understand more with this story coming out. So that's my rant. And today's rant was brought to you by Beirut Palace. Beirut Palace is the top Middle Eastern and American cuisine in Royal Oak, downtown Royal Oak. Folks, they get our show. They for our guests, they bring a spread of shawarma and hummus and all different kinds of goodies to sit down. It is one of the best, and I eat a lot of Middle Eastern cuisine. It is some of the best that I've ever had. So you definitely need to, if you're in Royal Oak, you need to stop over. There's 4 locations, but the way I'm talking about, there's Sterling Heights, Michigan, and Warren, Michigan, and we're right here in downtown 205 South Main Street, Royal Oak, Michigan. Come in and see Mo. We'll have a little surprise for you. Tell him that you heard about him on the Rock and Turk Sports Show and get 10% off your meal. And they also cater. So if you have a big event with high school football coming up, if you want a pregame meal or you need a postgame celebration meal, give them a call. The number is 248-399-4600. And that is Beirut Palace in Royal Oak. Tell Mo the Rock and Turk Show sent you. Thank you. Fellas, now that that's out my system, what's going on?
Thanks for that food, Mo. That's good.
What's happening? Sorry I'm late. Ran into a little traffic, but I did hear the rant. I walked in on the rant. So, I'd have to agree with you. Art Briles is scum of the earth category. So
Rocco, he came here late. We're going to have to go Baylor style on him.
Oh,
Get him on the couch?
Yeah.
That sounded awful.
It did.
Awful.
Oh, man. A lot of traffic out there?
Yeah, coming down 75 from downtown, it's always crazy. If you don't leave by this time, it's going to be trouble.
What about you, Dom? We were on vacation as well last week. How was your week? I know you had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I was in Boston. That was my last show. That was fine until I had to drive through the night to get back here. That is not fun.
I'm not from Boston.
Yeah.
And you didn't buy a ticket while you're out there, did you? Because somebody in Massachusetts won the $700 million Powerball.
No, I wouldn't be here. Sorry, guys.
But he did tell me he got his Popeye Chickens ticket on though.
Oh my God! Yeah, middle of the night.
Oh yeah, Turnpike.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I know all about it. Yeah.
But this weekend we're at Capital City Comic Con East Lansing, and it's at the Breslin Center.
The whole Breslin Center.
Yeah, they just remodeled it, I guess. So
you gonna be on the floor?
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
That's pretty
Last
cool.
year I was on a national championship banner.
It's crazy how big the Comic Con thing is. I know my coworker went to Indianapolis last week.
Okay.
Last week or 2 weeks ago? Last week.
I don't
A
know,
big show
so many
in
hours. Yeah.
It's like a family thing for them, but it's amazing. I didn't think there was like a show every weekend. There's a show every weekend.
All over the country.
It's like a tour,
Yeah, it's got to check it out. It's kind of wild. Dom tells me it's kind of like when I was at Purdue, and they used to say, "Oh, you got to come down to the Grand Prix or the Indianapolis 500." Bro, I'm not going down. He's like, "Man, we're not even going for the race." He's like, "It's such an event outside it." So
kind of like the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah. And so Dom is saying he tells me all these stories. So I'm intrigued to go to one because I'm thinking it's just a bunch of as we say fanboys here. We're thinking it's a bunch of nerd boys, but
it is.
It is.
Let's not lead anybody the wrong way. It is big time.
Well, then you're doing a great job promoting all those pictures that you post up there.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, hey, we gotta go.
Yeah. Where's this at? No.
Yeah, but there's something there for everybody. Is what I'm trying to say.
It's good to be back, man. You took a week off, man. It seems like it was forever since
recharge.
Am I rusty? I don't know, man. Is it like riding a bike, or is it like you got to learn over, read the instructions, and know what you're doing? I don't know yet.
Well, you know what?
We're early in the show.
When Daddy gives you these whoopings, you done fell off a bike many times.
First, you guys want to put me on the couch. Second, it's Daddy. It is an awkward Thursday here at the Rock and Turk Sports Show. I don't know.
That means it's going to be a good day then.
Yeah. Get that first hit, and you're back in the game.
There we go.
Never missed a move.
They say you come out in the field, you're always nervous, and then that first little crack, it's like, what was I nervous about?
Shake it off. Shake it off. Yeah, that's all it is. Let's go.
All right, we got a big show today. With we've been promising you some guests, And one was the weather, one was a lot of the high school football and college and NFL teams are in camp. But now everybody's breaking camp. High school guys are out. So we have a nice setup of guests for you today. We got the head coach from U of D, and we also have one of his star players. So they'll be joining us later on in the show. And then we're just going to get into some NFL, college, fantasy, the whole shebang that we do up here. So right now, Dom, you want to shoot that phone number out to people to how they can get in touch with us?
Yes, call into the Echo Network, the Rock and Turk Sports Show at 248-721-8570, or you can get a hold of them on Twitter at Rock and Sports with a Z. So we're going to start.
Rock and Turk.
Rock and Turk Sports with a Z. We're going to start off with Rocco here. This week in sports news and updates.
This week, I was hoping, we're coming to the end of summer, so you got camp going on, but you still want to see what's out there, what's happening, what's going on, and Cleveland saved us. We got a good story there, but also we're going to talk about what's going on this weekend, and we talked about it in a couple shows previously, but it's finally here. It's fight week, August 26th at 9 o'clock in Las Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. We'll be having Mr. Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather for, this is not my words, the fight of the century, which is, I don't know. We've had some, you talk about Sonny Liston and Muhammad Ali. You talk about Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray. You're talking about this is the fight of the century.
I never in my adult life have I had this many people call me to ask me if I'm getting the fight. I'm going to be honest. I cannot believe the amount of people that want to know where's the fight at right now. A fight that shouldn't be a real fight.
Right.
But it is. If you look at, we're going to look at this from a financial impact. This is probably the fight of the century. It is ridiculous the numbers I'm reading about what this fight could generate.
It's simply because the UFC fans and the boxing fans.
I get it, but good Lord.
Two things.
They should do this all the time. If this is what it's going to produce, this should be just the best of the best.
Well, two things. It was great marketing because one, when the Diaz fight, the third fight didn't happen, and then Conor, said when he had his little issue with UFC, he started. He just made this appear, right? He just started throwing jabs at Mayweather, and he bit on it, right? So for a year, we've had this. Then you had, if you want to call it controversial little tour they had when, it kind of it was a lot of race baiting, a lot of things going that way, but it just creating a divide. And then, obviously, we've had the issues, and we try to stay off of real stuff, but the stuff that happened in Charlottesville and what we're going through the last couple of weeks with, white supremacists, the alt-right, the alt-left, and
Good Lord, you wrote all of that into the
but I'm just saying, but what I'm saying is, but right now, there's a major divide. And if you think, I wrote this down, I know if I was going to bring it up, but do you remember the Great White Hype movie with Samuel L. Jackson? You guys remember that?
I never saw it. I remember.
Okay.
What
basically what came out was that Samuel L. Jackson was playing a guy kind of like Don King, and Damon Wayans was kind of the Mike Tyson, and he just beat up everybody. There was nobody left, and people were tired of getting his fights, and so Samuel L. Jackson had to come up with something. So he came across Peter Berg, who's an Irish fighter that had a decent record. I think it was in the juniors, or he knocked down Damon Wayans' character, whatever. So he just made this thing, and what he did was he brought in this Irish dude versus black dude, and he created this whole big, it's literally, I don't even know if they if you watch the movie and what's going on, it's basically what happened. Now, the thing that happened was everybody was how it's going now. Conor McGregor, there's 93% of the people are placing bets on him. A lot of people are thinking he's actually got a shot and chance, and this is what this movie did. And basically, we got in the ring with the guy after it all said and done. He knocked him out in the first minute of the fight, right? And it was just a big hubbub about nothing.
One thing about that, though, if you remember, Damon Wayans did not take it seriously.
Well, yeah, he didn't take it seriously.
He was out there like drinking beer, gut,
smoking.
Yeah, he was like whatever.
But it's the same. It's the same atmosphere. And why I brought in the what's going on in the country is that whether you admit it or not, there is racial, whether it's ignorance, there's a lot more people that live in the country and aren't as educated as us that are in the city and all that. So that's where you're getting a lot of this from. But it doesn't matter. Those people have dollars, and what everybody's doing is they're piling their money. It's been used to promote this event.
I'll say this. I think there are I can't imagine that no matter what race or creed you are, that the majority of people are not thinking that Mayweather's going to pound this.
It's not about the thing of what's going to happen. It is the chance of what if Conor, and obviously, listen, I'm not a fan of Mayweather. Anybody that puts their hands on women and his background and what he's had and just some of the other antics that he does, I'm not a fan. I'm a fan of, he's a great fighter and athlete, but I look at the whole package and he's not, I don't want to say he's not a great human.
So you give him that R. Kelly status, right? Great music, but can't rock with him.
Yeah.
Like underage years.
Right.
Until that ignition come on. Right?
Well, yeah.
That ignition come
but that
on.
was pretty. But let's not touch that one. 'Cause he got some stuff going on right now. If you don't know.
We go. Back to the topic. Yeah, Mayweather.
But like Turk said, I'm gonna bring this up and bring out my notes. So here's what's crazy, because me and Turk had said this is not even gonna come close. Turk read some numbers, the last time how much money was made at the actual fight plus what the pay-per-view is. Well, right now, Mayweather versus Pacquiao, which was anticipated, even though it was probably a couple years too late, they have 4.6 million buys of pay-per-view, which totaled $437 million in revenue. And Mayweather got like 100, almost 200 million, and I think Pacquiao got 80 million. So right now, the fight, with the numbers that they're looking right now, is going to hit between 5 and 5.5 million pay-per-view buys, which comes out to be almost 570-some million, which they're saying that Mayweather's probably going to walk away 350 million, and they haven't announced what McGregor's going to walk away with. Now, like Dom said, that's a lot. Is not just boxing as well. You bring boxing and UFC fans in here, but I just don't see it, man. And I think on the other part, outside the race baiting, getting the, is that they picked the right time. What's going on Saturday night? Nothing. Nobody's watching preseason football. It's a week before the college football season starts. There's nothing happening this Saturday. It's the end of summer. This is, and everybody wants to.
I think it's like one college football game during the day. Like, is it Colorado State, Oregon? Did I say that wrong? I think it's a game this Saturday. Yeah, that's it. Other than that, ain't nothing. I mean, preseason football, and this is the perfect weekend. I will admit.
Absolutely.
They're like unless you play Madden.
Which we will get to that later.
We will definitely get to the Madden later. Madden Midnight coming later. Stay tuned. 248-721-8570. Who's your team? What's the attributes? Let's go. All right, back to you.
There we
had
go.
a moment.
I think UFC fans of UFC actually are secretly rooting for. Well, they all want Conor to win, but they don't think he has a chance in a boxing match. But UFC is kind of like people still look at it as lowbrow entertainment, as opposed to boxing, which used to be looked upon that way, but now boxing is a huge part of the lexicon and everything. But UFC people are still like, you're gouging eyes out.
I think that we got to move on, but I think the next thing is not that the lowbrow part doesn't come from the fighting; it comes from truth. And just here we call a spade a spade. It's a lot of guys out there that whereas before you see a lot of black dudes in boxing, they say, oh, it's a ghetto thug criminal. When you're looking at UFC, dudes look like white trash. I mean, they got long stringy hair, they got tattoos everywhere, they can barely speak English, and then when their mic is put in front of their face, it's a lot of vulgar stuff that comes out on national TV. So I think they get the lowbrow image from that, and if that's what they want to promote, that's fine. So, but I think what the bottom line comes into, what it also gets forgotten, is boxing is an art, it's a great sport, and I think that MMA, there is skill involved, but I think there's a lot of luck in MMA, because if you look at people's because
I don't know where he's going with this, man.
I'm just saying, if you look at boxing, right, and you see a lot of guys with undefeated records or one loss or maybe two losses, you look at the UFC, you can see a heavyweight championship fight, and it's two guys with like 6 or 7 losses. So that just means it's not. I mean, you can either say that playing field's equal, or it's just guys get lucky kicks, lucky shots. I don't know, but we got to move on from that because we got a few minutes to talk about. We've got about 2 minutes to talk about what went down with this trade. What are your thoughts? Because me and you had a big conversation.
Wow. I will say this, though, and I've given my Cleveland friends a hard time about it. As this went closer to the season, I thought there was no way Cleveland was going to be able to get a great value for Kyrie Irving. Lo and behold, Danny Ainge bossed up. And honestly, I looked at the trade. I think it's a smart move for both teams.
I agree.
I think what Cleveland was able to do with a disgruntled player, because Jay Crowder's a guy that's going to help him right now. Isaiah Thomas is going to help him right now. Zizic is going to play in that rotation. He's going to be a big off the bench. And then they get a first-round pick that's from New Jersey, who's going to suck next year. So that pick's a top 5 pick. So you're talking about the opportunity to get a franchise-type player and still retain, Isaiah Thomas if it works out. Honestly, when I look at the trade from just short term, I think Cleveland is better than they were before the trade because I think Isaiah Thomas and Kyrie, yes, Kyrie's probably better, but is he Jay Crowder and Zizic better? I don't think he is than Isaiah Thomas. I think they're both scorers, right? They're both defensive liabilities. They both can get hot. And I think that IT is a little more level-headed than Kyrie. I think Kyrie dominates the ball a little too much for my taste. But IT, in the short term, I think Cleveland's a better team than they were before that trade. Long term, they still got the first-round pick. What Boston was able to do is to get a better number one option on the team. I think Kyrie Irving as the lead scoring option is a better threat to IT just because of his size and his ability to finish at the rim. So that team, I think Danny Ainge looked at that team and looked at how Golden State does it. What he's doing is he's going to get a phenomenal point guard and he's going to get a bunch of wings who can be versatile. And now he just needs some bigs to box out, grab rebounds, and not do things. So expect Al Horford to be a guy that, is expendable here in the next year or so because they can replace his contract with a couple guys who just need to rebound. They don't need, a bunch of guys who can do a lot on the block because this is a game based on the perimeter. Great trade for both teams. If I had to score one better than the other, definitely giving it to Cleveland Cavs. I think short term with what they did this offseason and getting Jay Crowder and Zizic with IT, I think watch out for them this season. They still can't beat Golden State, but I think the gap actually increased between them and Boston in the East.
Well, I agree with you on most of all you said. I think they got rid of the money. They took their luxury tax from $78 million to $49 million. It's going to be interesting. These guys are meeting on October 1st. October 17th.
Oh, it's going to be beautiful.
Wild.
Oh yeah.
The thing that I agree with you, I think that this does a couple things that happen. I think this trade means LeBron's gone. Okay, because I don't. IT said you're going to have to back up the Brinks truck, so I don't know if they're going to pay him that money. So I think IT's gone. You're playing. This is a 1-year bill to try to make another run. Now, don't people forget that Derrick Rose is on the bench.
Yeah.
Those type of things.
Calderon's on the bench.
So some guys are going to get cut, but this makes them pretty deep. Now, I will go with you also. I didn't really want to do this because I hate agreeing with you, but I think you're right in the long run that Cleveland probably got the better for this year because I looked at their starting lineups. So you're looking at the Cavs right now projected as IT, J.R. Smith, LeBron James, Kevin Love, Tristan Thompson. Then their second unit coming off the bench is D-Rose, Shumpert, Jay Crowder, Zizic, and then they got to find another big.
Which they don't need. 9-man rotation is good enough because I think Crowder is going to be able to play both spots for them in that lineup. He's going to be a guy that's going to be a jack of all trades. I love, like we were saying, I love what it allows Cleveland to do from a flexibility standpoint. I think they were limited last year, especially with wings. I think this trade, Jay Crowder is one of the more underrated players for what you get money-wise. LeBron leaves, let's say LeBron leaves and IT leaves, and they're left with, this first-round pick to build around. Sure. Jay Crowder, Zizic. They still got some pieces to not look completely inept.
No, and I agree with you. And you look at Boston, we got to get out of here, but Boston's got Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, Marcus Morris, Al Horford, but then off the bench they got Marcus Smart, Tatum, and Baines, and I don't think that competes, and that's with nobody getting hurt. So I think Cleveland did get the better of it, but like you said, I think this takes the Cavs, if they win the East, it takes them from maybe out in 5 games to going 7 and losing 2. Because with Golden State, I just don't see it.
I still don't think it's enough, but I like it. I like the trade, but I don't know if it's enough for Golden State.
All right, Dom, take us to the NFL game week.
Yep.
There you go. That's that sound to let you know we are 2 weeks away from the kickoff of the 2017 NFL season. And we've previewed, this is the last week of our divisional preview, so we're going to go with the NFC West and the AFC West Division. So I'm going to kick it off. We're going to go extremely quick so we can talk about it. But as always, I'm going to go in my order from bottom to first. So right now with the NFC West, I have the San Francisco 49ers finishing dead last. They got Brian Hoyer named as a starter this week. It's basically a stopgap, but he knows Shanahan's system, so that'll make him look somewhat respectable. Big year for Carlos Hyde at running back. It's a contract year, and they've got some good backups in Joe Williams and Tim Hightower that they picked up from the Saints. Receiver-wise, you got Pierre Garçon, who's still number 1, but he's on the back end of his career. And they picked up a major deep threat in Marquise Goodwin from Buffalo. He needs to develop a little bit more as a receiver. But They look pretty good with that, but obviously, Hoyer doesn't have the strongest arm, so not a real need for more than one deep threat. Logan Paulson is their tight end. He's basically just a blocker. Outside of Joe Staley on their O-line, they're pretty below average, so they're going to struggle there. And then their defense is pretty solid, good pass rushers, solid linebacking core. Outside of Eric Reed, their secondary is very shaky, and that's why I don't see them doing better than finishing 4th in that division. Next, I have the LA Rams. Jared Goff, jury is still out. He's looked okay, but he's only played a few snaps in the preseason. Todd Gurley, we know what he have with him, but if you can't complete passes and you can't make plays, and they're just going to put 8 or 9 in the box and really stop him. Receiver-wise, they've got some good names. They got Tavon Austin. He's a gimmick player. He's being paid like a number 1, but he's really number 3. You got Robert Woods, who's probably an all-around solid player, good route runner. Picked up some weight this year, looks good. Cooper Rush, their 3rd-round pick, has looked very good in the preseason. Looks like he's going to be a dependable guy. And then obviously the trade last week with Sammy Watkins. He's healthy. If he can stay healthy, he's obviously a Pro Bowler, and he's a huge deep threat for them. They hooked up a couple times this past week, so we'll see how that transpires. They got Tyler Higbert, Gerald Everett at tight end, below average guys. I don't really see them making an impact. And their O-line, as I like to say, is very sketchy, below average. So it's about keeping Goff upright. If you can't do that, I don't know what's going to happen. Their defense, they switched from to a 3-4 scheme. I just call them an all-name team. If you look at them, it seems like there's a lot of guys that you remember from college with big names, and they have some ability. But the problem is they're going to be on the field a lot, and I think that you'll get tired out, and eventually you're going to lose those games, especially if Goff doesn't produce. So next, what might shock people. I got the Seattle Seahawks coming in 2nd in division. Russell Wilson, he's healthy this year. Had a good season last year. He didn't run that much because of his health, but now he's completely healthy. And he's got some weapons around him. He's got running back wise, they got Eddie Lacy, Thomas Rawls, and C.J. Prosise. Looks like Eddie Lacy and Rawls are competing for the starting job, but C.J. from Notre Dame is a 3rd down back. He had a good year last year until he got hurt. At receiver, you got Doug Baldwin, Jermaine Kearse, Tyler Lockett, Paul Richardson. Baldwin had his best year last year with 94 catches, 1,100 yards, and he scored 21 touchdowns over the past 3 years. Jermaine Kearse had a bad year, and Paul Richardson will be pushing for that job. He finished up the season in the playoffs well. And Tyler Lockett's back from injury, and he's a great deep threat and a very explosive special teamers. Jimmy Graham looks like he's finally nestled into this system, so we'll see how that goes with him. He had 923 yards last year, averaging 14 yards a catch, which was tops in the league. They also need to find him more in the red zone. Only caught 6 receptions in the red zone last year, so he's got to be that threat that he was in New England. O-line is still below average. They retooled it a little bit, but I think that's still scary for Russell Wilson and the running backs. That's probably why they want to get some bigger backs that are more physical, because they know they're going to have to break some arm tackles right off the bat. The defense is above average, but they need to stay healthy. I think they're going to be on the field a lot, and because that O-line is so bad, and I think there's going to be a lot of 3 and outs, and as you know me, you've been coaches, it doesn't matter how good your defense is. If you're always on the field, you're eventually going to get tired. And in the NFL, 1 play, 2 plays can change the game. And another thing I never bring up, though, is that their kicker has been solid for them. Glushka, he left. He's gone. And so they signed Blair Walsh, who had his struggles the last 2 years.
Kicker reference.
But it matters for them because sometimes they don't put it in the end zone. So Blair Walsh got a huge leg, but he struggled the last 2 years. So we'll see how that plays out. So that leaves you with my number 1 team in the NFC West. I got the Arizona Cardinals. I think this is Carson Palmer's last go-around. He's had 5 consecutive 4,000-yard seasons. He needs to stay healthy, and that'll keep them good enough to compete. They have probably, if not the best, the 2nd-best running back in football in David Johnson. He had 1,200 yards rushing last year, 800-plus yards receiving. And there's a lot of depth at this position. So even if he gets dinged up, they've got some guys to fill the shoes. Larry Fitzgerald in the line. He had 107 receptions last year, 1,000 yards. I think this is probably his last year. Obviously, everybody knows John Brown had a rough season last year with injuries and got diagnosed with sickle cell. But he's looked like he's back. He's becoming a better route runner, and he's still a big, deep threat. Tight end rise, they want to go a double tight set. They got Jermaine Gresham and Troy Nichols. They tried last year, but Nicholas got hurt, so they're going to try it again this year. Jermaine Gresham is probably the heart and soul of their team, and he's got a good rapport with Carson Palmer ever since they've been with Cincinnati. O-line is good, but they're injury away from being pretty average. And the defense is pretty outstanding. They can get to the quarterback and they can cover, and they're very strong at the linebacker position. So that's why I got them edging out Seattle to win the AFC West. What you got?
Wow, that was a speed turn there. I agree with you. So the NFC West, this was one of the most dominant divisions a couple of years ago. Now it's kind of like an afterthought because some of these teams have fallen off. I agree the 49ers are the last place team, but they're probably the best last place team, I think, in the NFL right now. Only reason I say it, I think.
What does that mean?
I mean, of all the teams, every division, they're the last team. They're a team that has they've got a lot of upside. I love what they did in the draft with Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster. I think that John Lynch is out there to bring some physicality to that team.
There should be an award.
Yeah,
best last place.
Best last place team. That's the new T-shirt. So, Brian Hoyer, will he ever stay healthy enough to do something? Unfortunately, he doesn't have a lot of weapons on the outside. I thought losing Torrey Smith was a big deal for them. Like you said, this is Carlos Hyde. Last year on his rookie contract, he's looking for a big year. He's not running behind a great offensive line, so that may hurt him. Offensively, I don't think they're going to score a lot of points. Defensively, I think they have some players up front. I'm really interested to see what what Rucker does the second year, along with Solomon Thomas. I think they really have a chance to be dynamic up front. Reuben Foster's still there. One of our favorite linebackers in the league, Navarro Bowman's still there. So their front seven could be very good. They got Reed in the secondary. I think that they're going to hold the fort, but I don't think that they're going to do enough to, be more than a 6-win team. Now, this is where it gets crazy because I'm actually going to disagree with you, and only because I'm falling into the preseason hype, right? So my third place team, and I think this is going to surprise a lot of people. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to be third in this division. Yes, I think last year was not a fluke. I think Carson Palmer is about to fall off the rails, and they don't have a backup in place. Drew Stanton is not the guy to take this to the next level. I love David Johnson. I love what he does, but I think if you don't have a quarterback, then you're going to be in trouble. I think Larry Fitzgerald is, he's getting close to retirement. And if you listen to what's the talk out of Arizona, they're very disappointed in some of their receivers right now about what they're going to do other than Larry Fitzgerald. He doesn't think he has a passing game, which David Johnson can't do at all. And if that's the case, are they good enough defensively to get in games? They're good defensively. I don't think they're good enough to be a factor in the NFC. Because Carson Palmer, I don't think he's going to carry an offense right now. And until they get some receivers that can do something, they didn't address it in the draft. Larry Fitzgerald is basically a big, smaller tight end right now. Because he's just going to play in the slot and do his thing. I think they're going to be in trouble. That's my third place team. Second place team, this is where it surprised you. I really like the Rams. I love the Sammy Watkins move. If you'd have asked me this 6 weeks ago, I would have said you were crazy. I love the Sammy Watkins move because for the first time, the Rams have said we need a number one receiver. Healthy Sammy Watkins with Robert Woods, I think that offense can be very good. And if you watch, I know they say preseason doesn't mean a lot, but if you watch Jared Goff this year and you watch him last year, this is not the same quarterback. This guy looks like a professional quarterback. He looks like a first-round pick. I'm not saying he's got to be a world beater, but the guy looks like the second best quarterback in this division. If he's the second best quarterback in this division, then they can win. Signing Andre Whitworth, who is one of the best left tackles in the league, is going to be huge for them. Even though he's older, from Pro Football Focus, the guy's a top 3 left tackle, replacing the guy that we got in Detroit, Greg Robinson. I think that's going to pay huge dividends for Todd Gurley in the running game because what it's going to do is take another guy out of the box. Because Sammy Watkins, when he's healthy, you can't single cover him. So if you get a guy out of the box, Todd Gurley gets back to 1,300 yards this year, 10 touchdowns. Because contrary to what you saw last year, Todd Gurley is closer to Ezekiel Elliott than anybody else in this league.
Well, yeah, it was a dumpster fire last year.
Dumpster fire.
And I think Fisher proved that near the end of Tennessee. I just don't think he's good. He's a good defensive coach and a good offensive coach. But I just that line, everybody else, I just don't see it happen. I don't see them giving them time unless they're going short West Coast at the whole season.
The line is actually better than what we're giving them credit for. I think the line is better. And I think the biggest problem last year was that their left side was extremely weak, and they paid big dollars to fix that. And their quarterback was horrible. Their quarterback play, if you watch, it was a lot of times it wasn't just the line blocking. The quarterback was holding the ball. He didn't know where to go to the ball. Goff looks confident. He's got a deep threat receiver now with Sammy Watkins, which is going to, and Robert Woods is a good number 2 possession receiver. And what is really going to allow, and I think the guy that's going to end up falling into a better role for him is that their old number 1 receiver out of West Virginia.
Tavon.
Yeah, Tavon Austin. Tavon Austin is kind of a jack of all trades. He's not a guy that's going to do a bunch going downfield. He's a guy that needs to get the ball in his hands in different ways. I think that they're going to be able to do that with him now, and it's going to create some flexibility for that offense. So I really like the Rams, and I think Jared Goff is going to be one of the surprise players in the NFL this year. I really like how he looks in the preseason. The Seattle Seahawks, I think Seattle is the door is nearing the close for them, but I think it's still enough where the NFC West is not strong enough to overtake them. I still think they're going to win 10, 11 games. Russell Wilson is still there. I'm not sold on Eddie Lacy. I'm going to be honest. I watched him this preseason. That Seattle offensive line is hot garbage. You think the Rams' offensive line is bad? Seattle's offensive line is hot garbage. So I think Russell Wilson, when you got a mobile quarterback, he's still going to be able to make plays, and he's still got a slew of receivers. Jimmy Graham is probably the best tight end in the league when he's locked in on offense. He's got a chance, and I know people are going to say, oh, Ron Gronkowski. I think Jimmy Graham and Ron Gronkowski a couple years ago, you could have said they were interchangeable. Jimmy Graham has gotten a lot more comfortable in this offense. They're going to split him out in the red zone. They're going to do some things with him to create some mismatches. I think offensively, Seattle's going to be a team that's going to be able to score. Defensively, they still got a lot of veterans. The big thing they got to do is figure out who's going to be that number 2 corner opposite of Richard Sherman. And I know they just signed a guy off the street. They're trying to see who can be that guy. Other than that, they're still a very good defense. The one I was disappointed to see our guy out of Michigan State not be healthy enough, because I think he was going to be able to help them. But I can't ever think of his name.
What position?
Defensive line. He's a second-round pick.
You mean
Malik McDowell. Yeah,
Oh.
Malik McDowell. He's probably going to be on the pup this year. Half the season's going to really hurt his season. But Frank Clark, looking for a big year out of him. Cliff Avrill's still there. I think defensively they're going to still be very good. So I like the Seattle Seahawks to be the best team in that division. My sleeper, though, I'm telling you, the LA Rams. I know you heard it here first. You guys think I'm crazy.
Yeah, write it down. So
Write
y'all
it down.
Come back and say
Tell
you was
248-721-8570. When you're going to see one of the best turnarounds from year 1 to year 2, I think Jared Goff is going to be in that conversation, because the guy looks different. He looks more confident. He looks more assertive. I know they say you can't take a lot preseason, but you can look at some things and see that a guy's getting better. He's a guy that's going to be on the rise this year.
All right, go to the AFC West, Rocco.
All right, so I'm going to make this really quick, especially on this one. My last place team is the Denver Broncos, and people will get upset about that. Yes, they probably have the best defense alongside with the Patriots and the Texans. No question, no argument here. I love what they do. Problem is, they have no quarterback. They're not happy with Lynch. He's not progressing as fast as they want to, so they named Trevor Siemian. Trevor Siemian can't get the ball down. They're doing running back by committee. We don't know if Jamal Charles is healthy. They've got 2 great wide receivers, but they had that last year, and Siemian they couldn't get the ball down the field, and they have no tight end. Their line is solid. It's good, but I'm giving them last place because defense wins championships, but offense got to help them out a little bit, and I just don't see them have. I think they're maybe at 7-9, 8-8 team, and they're going to struggle. My third place team is Kansas City Chiefs. Basically, they got a good system going. They don't throw the ball downfield a little bit. We'll see if Tyreek Hill can be a good number 1. They got Spencer Ware and Kareem Hunt, the rookie out of Toledo. At receiver, they got Albert Wilson, Conley, and Tyreek Hill. Not really scaring me if I'm a coach. Travis Kelce, I'm going to put all my attention on stopping him. O-line is solid, getting a lot better play, especially on Eric Fisher. He's not playing up to his potential, but he's playing better. And their defense is very good. They can get to the secondary. Get to the quarterback. And they were pretty good last year. And this year, Marcus Peters will be back. So I'm going to pick them as my third place team, though, just because I just think their lack of getting the ball down the field is people figured out it's going to hurt them. Second place team, they got the Chargers. If you pay attention to last year and watch what they did finishing up the year on offense, very good. Phillip Rivers needs to cut down. He had 21 picks. Got to get down that. Melvin Gordon had a breakout season. They're going to have Keenan Allen back. They got Terrell Williams, who was a rookie that had 1,000 yards, and they got Dontrell Inman as well. Antonio Gates and Henry Henry are a great 1-2 punch. They're going to get Gates going at the beginning of the season and give him that record for the break Tony Gonzalez. But Hunter Henry's coming on strong. They revamped the offensive line, and that was one of the big problems. And their defense is as good as it gets. Probably second-tier defense, not with the Texans and the Patriots, but they can get after the quarterback, and they've got some good guys in the secondary. They got to replace Denzel Perryman, got hurt, so that's kind of a blow. But if they can figure that out, I think they got a chance to make some noise. Number 1, got the Raiders. We all know Derek Carr is up and coming. Let's see if he can live up to this contract, $125 million contract. Marshawn Lynch looked good that first preseason game. Looked like he's in shape, so we'll see if Beast Mode can carry it on. Cooper Crabtree, enough said, just got to stay healthy. The big addition that I think people aren't paying attention to is it wasn't working out with Wolford out of Miami. They got Jared Cook. Jared Cook is a big, fast guy who can control the middle of the field, and that's something that Derek Carr hasn't had, and I think that's going to also open up Crabtree and Amari Cooper more. And like me and Turk said, their O-line is probably the best, if not second only to the Dallas Cowboys. They got a good defense, 4-3 defense that they switch to. Their front 7 is awesome. The only question they have at a starting one, they're opposite to number 1, but they say Gary Conley is moving up the depth chart fast. And so with that, with health, and they got a pretty okay schedule, I think that they're going to win the AFC West.
And contrary, we just talked about the NFC West being weaker. I think the AFC West is one of the better divisions in football. You could make an argument for Denver being last, but I can't make that argument. I think It falls on the San Diego Chargers for me. I think they're in fourth place, and I think this could have 4 teams that are at least 500 or better. I think in this division. I think San Diego Chargers. I think Mike Williams not being healthy is a huge loss for them if he's not going to be able to play on a high level this year. Because they're going to be thin at receiver, and we know what happened last year. Their receivers always get hurt. Hunter Henry, I look for him to have a big year, and I think Melvin Gordon's got a chance to get into that top 10 echelon of running backs. Phil Rivers is going to do what he does. He's going to be very good. Defensively, San Diego Chargers are going to be good, and I think the only problem that I have them fourth in this division is because whether it's defense or offense, I don't see a lot of big plays out of this team, and I don't see it coming from anywhere on the field. I think I love Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa. I think they're going to be one of the best top 5 edge rushing combos in the NFL. I love what they do, but as far as a team taking the ball from the offense and scoring, I don't see it. I think they're a 4th place team. Third, I like the Denver Broncos only because I think that defense is dynamite. I know Shane Ray is going to be out for 6 weeks. Even without him, those guys are still loaded. Akeem Talib and Chris Harris are 2 of the best corners in the league, and they still got Roby in the nickel. They probably have the best secondary in the league. Even as Talib's gotten older, he's still very good. Their front is still going to be dynamic against the pass. I think from the quarterback position, yes, they are bad, but their defense is so good that they're not going to let the offense lose games. What's going to happen is that they're going to be in games under 20 points, and I think that they're going to win enough times to where they can get into that. They can get in that conversation 9-7 team. I think that's where they're going to end up. Third, I love Kansas City, and in most times I would say Kansas City is going to be the number 1 team in most divisions. It's just that right now I think that they're going to be second to a very good team in the Raiders. Kansas City, I love the pick of Patrick Mahomes. I think he's got a chance to be a very good quarterback down the line. Tyreek Hill's got a chance to be the number 1 receiver. That's why I don't think they're number 1. I think they got a big question mark in their passing game. Love Kelsey. Tyreek Hill, can he carry the load as the number 1 receiver? I'm not 100% sold on that. Their offensive line is still very good. They're still going to be able to run the ball. Kansas City always runs the ball. Defensively, I still think they're very weak up the middle. I know they're talking about making trades, but they're 1 injury away from being a big question mark about who mans that middle. And if you're not strong up the middle, you're a question. I think on the outside of the perimeter, it's still very good. Houston's still one of the best guys around. And Ford's going to be the other guy rushing the passer. Tom Bahali's going to be a situational guy. So they're still going to get after the passer. They're going to be pretty good. I think they're going to be second. They're still going to be a playoff team. And they'll probably lose in the first round like they always do. First, I think this is the Raiders' chance to be the hunted and not to be the hunted and not the hunter. So they're going to be the first place team, and we're going to see how they're going to handle success. They've got all the tools to be the best team in the AFC. They've got it everywhere, from quarterback to receivers. Marshawn Lynch is going to bring a attitude to that team. I think he's going to do a lot of things for them. Where they are weak, I still think their linebackers are a big question mark. Khalil Mack is basically a defensive end. So people call him a linebacker. He's not. He's a defensive end. Their linebackers are going to be a huge question mark on that team. And like you said, their number 2 corner, they have to figure out. But I think Conley's got the ability to play, and he's going to help them. The quicker he gets along, the better that defense can be. Other than that, I think they are solid, if not spectacular, everywhere on the field. I think they're going to be one of the top 2 teams in the AFC. I like them to really make some way this year in the playoffs.
All right, everybody, we'll write that down and see you come to the end of the season who was correct.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go, fantasy people. We got 2 weeks to start figure out these injuries, see what's happening and what's going on with your teams. So right now, we went over the last 2 weeks, the quarterbacks and running backs. We're going to deal with wide receivers this week. So I'm going to give you my top 5 picks to go ahead and draft them, and I'm going to give you my bottom 5 to stay away from. So I'll start right now. Number 1 should probably not be Antonio Brown. He's the best out there, does a lot. He's what makes the Steelers go, and he is in the prime of his career. Got him projected to have 381 fantasy points. It's 23 fantasy points a game. Second, I have Julio Jones. Had a great season last year. They say he's looking really good. His foot looks okay, and that he's going to be ready to go week 1. They project him for 340 points for the season. That's 21 points a game, so I can live with that. Number 3 is Mike Evans. With the addition of Deshaun Jackson and also O.J. Howard, I think he's going to open him up. He's going to see a lot more single coverage, which is going to help him to become one of the elite receivers in the league. They got him projected at 336 points, and that's 21 points a game as well. My fourth pick to say is go after A.J. Green. Was having a pretty good season last year until he got banged up a little bit near the end with the addition of John Ross once again, and they're going to have a healthy Tyler Eifert this year, and even Brandon LaFell playing well. It's going to be hard to double him up as well. So he's projected at 313 points, and that's 19.5 a game. And my last and fifth might be a surprise, but I really like him, and I got to stick with the Big Ten. I got Michael Thomas, number 5. Drew Brees, really liked him.
Michael who?
Michael Thomas.
A lot of people don't know who Michael Thomas is, man.
They'll know about him.
They'll know about him this year?
This year, because he had a good rookie year last year. Obviously, if it hadn't been for Dak and Zeke, he would probably been higher up for Rookie of the Year. But they got him projected at 312. He's going to be Brees' top target, and it's 19.5 points a game. So those are my top 5. What do you have, Turk? Well,
top 5, I'm a little different than number 1. I love Julio this year. I think this is Julio's year to burn up the numbers. I know he had a good start of it last year, but I think he's going to be a receiver that's going to get into that close to that 15 touchdowns mark. I think he's the number 1 guy. Number 2, I'm going to surprise you. I think Odell in a contract year. I think Odell Beckham in a contract year. I know the ankle. I think
that's why I dropped him off.
I think the ankle is just him. He's going to be fine week 1.
Did you listen to it?
I know.
He said about maybe week 2 he might have 2 or 3.
Well, hopefully if he's going to be out, let's make it week 3 because we playing week 2. But I think Odell Beckham, if I'm drafting fantasy right now, he's the number 2 receiver for me. Number 3, Antonio Brown, Mr. Dependability. I think Antonio Brown slips a little bit in touchdowns with the reemergence of Martavius Bryant, who's a red zone threat, and what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to look like in the run game. Which that's for another topic. One of my favorite players in the draft, James Conner. Pay attention to that guy. But I think he's gonna slip a little bit with his touchdown production. Still a very good receiver. Still gonna catch over 100 balls. Number 4, I like Mike Evans. I think Mike Evans right now is in a great position with O.J. Howard and Deshaun Jackson because they're not going to be able to double him, do a lot of things, and he's going to be a guy that's going to get the ball early and often. From Jameis Winston, they've developed some rapport over the last couple of years. Expect him to have a big year. He's that next level guy because he doesn't have the big gear, but as far as being dominant, high pointing the ball, Mike Evans is one of the best guys to do it. And for me, number 5, and this guy right here is a guy I went back and forth with. I wasn't sure if he should be there or not because he's getting a little older, but I still think Jordy Nelson is going to be a guy that you can't go wrong with. Aaron Rodgers is healthy. Jordy's 1 year removed from the ACL injury, so he's getting his speed back. I think Jordy's going to be a top 5 receiver this year. Watch out for him to do big things in Green Bay because they're going to have to score because the defense is a little shaky.
I had him in my top 10, so we're not too far off. Now, this is going to shock you because now I'm going with the bottom 5. Now, how it's been the last 2 weeks is with bottom 5 quarterbacks was pretty easy, and the bottom 5 running backs was pretty easy. This is
now you got to tell people, what do you call? Are you saying bottom 5 number 1 receivers? Don't draft these number 1.
I just say these are probably the worst guys to just stay away from. But now this is a little different because receivers. We're in a passing league now, and that. But so these are going to be some people who are going to argue with me about this, and I'll give my reasons as fast as I can. I'll start with number 5. I got Demaryius Thomas. It has nothing to do with his ability. It's because they can't get the ball to him.
Yeah.
All right. We're talking fantasy, we're looking for points and scores, okay, and PPR leagues. Now, 4th, I got Randall Cobb, and the reason why I say that is because 1, Jordy Nelson's healthy. Martavius Martellus Bennett is going to give him an option that he hasn't had since Jermichael Finley. And he likes using, even when Bubba Franks was there near the Instagram, he likes the tight end. He hasn't had a guy that's like this. Plus, I think him being a good run blocker is going to open up their running game a little bit. So I think and that's not, Randall Cobb's not going to do anything wrong, but it's going to take something away from him. Now, Allen Robinson, who's a local guy, I've had him the last couple of years. He actually, the year that I told you I won the $8,000, he's one of the guys that went off in the second half against the Saints, which helped me out. Well, I don't think anything's wrong with his talent, and he's in a contract year. They got this quarterback situation.
If Chad Henne starts in Jacksonville, somebody should get fired.
Well, the problem is, what's your better option? Because right now, Bortles isn't doing it. You might as well stick Denard.
You better call Cap.
Put Denard in there, right?
Call Cap. Hey, Jacksonville.
All right, second.
Flex and Gay. I'm out there working for you right now on the east side, Van Dyke. Call Cap.
Captain America?
Captain America, Captain Kaepernick. Call one of them.
Number 2.
Penny can't be the guy.
Number 2, I have Deshaun Jackson. He looks great on Hard Knocks, but the reason why I'm saying is with him running, with O.J. Howard and with Evans, and even if you saw this past week, he was mad because he wasn't getting the ball in the scrimmage against Jacksonville. I think he's going to have to make his plays, but he's always a boomer bust player in fantasy. And I think he's going to be the perennial deep threat, and they'll make some big plays, but we're looking for every game productivity. This is where people are going to flip out, but with me, my number one guy to stay away from is Julian Edelman. And the reason why I say that is they finally have some guys that are on the outside with Malcolm, and they're going to have Brandon Cooks. You're going to have Rob Gronkowski in there. And plus who he likes to throw to all the backs coming out the backfield. I think Julian Edelman is going to be the guy because remember when Randy Moss was there, he liked to go deep. He likes to get those chunk yards. I think Edelman runs his little 4 or 5 yard routes. I think not that he's not a good player. I just think his fantasy numbers, what you've been used to, is going to drop.
In a PPR league, I still like Edelman. I'll start there. In a PPR league, I still think Edelman's going to catch a ton of passes. And I think even as a second option in the receiver situation, he's going to catch a ton of ball. For me, my bottom 5 guys. First guy, Kelvin Benjamin. Kelvin Benjamin is back. I'm staying away from every Carolina receiver. I'll pick their running backs over them. I would take Curtis Samuel and I'll take McCaffrey in the draft before I touch a Carolina receiver. I don't trust it. I don't trust it at all. Next guy I'm staying away from. I'm staying away from T.Y. Hilton. This has nothing to do with T.Y. Hilton's ability. Andrew Luck has not thrown a pass in 2017. We're almost done with 2017. That is a red flag for me. Cam Newton is playing tonight. Andrew Luck still has not thrown a pass. There's a good chance that he's going to miss a big chunk of the season. And if you watch any of the preseason games in Indianapolis, their backup quarterbacks are atrocious. Stay away from T.Y. Hilton. My next guy to stay away from is Golden Tate. Golden Tate, they come out and they say Golden Tate's got the most yards. He's the best receiver at making people miss. That's because he catches everything at the line of scrimmage. He's not a number 1 receiver, and I know this is just about fantasy guys, but he's a top 25 receiver in fantasy. I think you get better value at other positions or other players who's going to give you touchdowns. Golden Tate's not going to give you touchdowns.
Surprised as a Lions fanboy.
Oh, here you go. You act like Rocco. All right, here we go. That's messed up. All right, I lost my train of thought. Number two. My number 2 guy to stay away from this year is Tyreek Hill. And I'm talking about number 1 receivers. I said this just a minute ago with Kansas City. I don't think Tyreek Hill is the number 1 guy.
He's a gimmick guy.
I think he's a gimmick guy. And if you draft him as a number 1 receiver, you're going to be highly disappointed. He's going to be a better version of Deshaun Jackson, a boomer bust guy. But there's going to be games where he's
a great flex.
Yeah, he is a great flex. But there's going to be games. Don't ever think that he's the number 1 receiver right now in his situation because he's nowhere around. He's nowhere in that stratosphere of guys that you should take. My last guy that I think you should stay away from, and this one's probably people are going to say, I don't know. My last guy is Alshon Jeffrey. I know everybody's going to Philly and they're thinking, hey, Alshon Jeffrey is coming to Philly. He's got a quarterback now. He's going to do a lot of things. I think if you watch Alshon Jeffrey, I don't think he's the same guy. And maybe the injuries have caught up with him. I don't think that he's going to put up crazy numbers in Philly. And I know people are trying to boost him up the numbers because they think that Philly offense is going to be so dynamic. Well, they just traded away Jordan Matthews. They can't afford for Alshon to get injured. They can't afford for him to take plays off. I think physically he just can't play a whole season. I would not draft him as a number 1 guy.
And don't forget, they run the same offense that Kansas City runs. So there's not a lot of deep threat pushing ball on the field.
Nope, not a lot of vertical, and that's what his game's all about.
So with that, take your lesson for our bottom 5 bums. All right, don't draft those bums. But speaking of bums, this is my favorite segment for the last 6-7 weeks running. I'm going to let Turk hand it over to Turk. Dom, we got bum of the week.
I got $1.
Welcome to Bum of the Week. So many bums out here. We took a week off, and the bums were plentiful. They were plentiful. Man, where can I start? It's a sports show, so obviously I'm going to talk about a sports guy. And I think if there was one week where we could all be united on Bum of the Week for sports, it may be this guy. All right? I'm going to paint a picture. It was July 30th, not even 30 days ago, when John Bones Jones knocked Daniel Cormier out. And the first thing he did was call out a man named Brock Lesnar and said, if you want to know what it feels like to get your ass whooped by somebody 40 pounds lighter, meet me in the octagon. And everybody went on Twitter. We blew up. We said, we got John Jones back. The sport is back. Meet him in the octagon. I saw so many hashtags. Meet me in the octagon. Meet me in the octagon. Meet me in the octagon. And what happened earlier this week? No more octagon for John Jones. John Jones decided that he could do steroids and not get caught. Again. And now John is facing a 4-year suspension, which means his career is basically over because he's on the other side of 30. So, what do we have to ask ourselves? John Jones, did you know you had steroids in your system when you made this proclamation to Brock Lesnar, or did you decide to take him after? I'm going with the former because I'm pretty sure that you've been a guy that's been a drug addict for a while, and steroids and drugs have always been an issue with you. We got a sport right now where we got Mayweather and we got Conor McGregor, the biggest fight arguably in history. Other than those two guys, when we're looking at professional fighters in sports, John Jones is right up there as far as name recognition. He was next in line. He was the next guy to get that big contract to fight whoever. Everybody saw it. Everybody saw it, except John Jones. John decided, you know what? I need this edge. It's the only way I'm going to make it. And instead of getting a little bit of money, he lost it all. So, John, this is short and sweet. Doesn't take much. John Jones is hurt right now. He's looking at 4 years off. All that money that he's seen all these other guys make is gone. John swears he didn't take steroids. He swore up and down. USDA already confirmed it. Yes, he did. It was steroids. So John's probably somewhere in Dearborn at a shop, drinking some type of diluting measure, trying to figure out how to take another test to get clean. So if you're on Michigan Avenue, you see the Chuck E. Cheese on one side of the street. You look across the street, you see John Jones walking out with a plastic bag, gallon full of something. You say, hey, John, great fight last month. Too bad it's your last one. See something in your bag, you're probably a little broke. Here's $1. Because you're a bum.
I like it. I feel, only other thing I want to add to that is that Daniel Cormier should get those losses taken back, eradicated, because you got a guy got all coked up, beat him, and then you got a guy, I don't know. Like
it is so ironic that my man called out Brock Lesnar. Like, he had to know he was pissing dirty. Like, it's no way July 30th you was not pissing dirty, and August 16th you getting caught. You was pissing dirty July 30th. For you to say, meet me in the octagon.
Well, no, here's what they're saying now. No,
Lesnar pissed dirty.
Yeah. I'm saying to call out a guy who's already been busted with steroids.
They should go to one of those other leagues.
Yeah.
Just having dirty
dirty. Shoot him up right before the we'll pay for
one 10 rounds.
Yeah. Nurse administers steroids. Let's go.
But did you hear what's going on now?
What is going on?
So they said, he pissed before the fight, and it was supposedly clean.
Yeah.
Then he pissed after the fight, and it's dirty, right? So now they're saying that it's a world, United States UFC conspiracy that they want him out or whatever, because how is he going to be clean, do that?
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't take something the day before, and then it's not going to show up on the test. It's got to be your system. So they're throwing out all the
setup.
The Ryan Braun stories and all these other
you gotta ask that he's their money guy in the league. Why would they want him out?
Well, the big thing is Dana White has done a day, and I feel that he's been very heartfelt. He said the guy is so amazing as just an athlete since he's known him that there's no reason for him to do this. Yeah. So he said he knows. So his demons are bigger than him. So I will definitely think that goes up there with the rest of the bums of the league.
Honestly, I think that, there was a couple guys we could have talked about who weren't sports related, but like as far as a sport, to go out and call a guy out who got kicked out of the league for steroids when you are in fact on steroids is big A. But if you looked up bum, that would be right there at number one. Bum tendencies. That's it right there.
and before we go to the next segment, the worst thing for me about this whole thing is that leading up to that fight, it was all the stories about how he changed his life and how he lived for his daughter.
They had the big special on, like I'm clean now.
Yeah. So that makes it even worse. So hopefully his brothers is making some money in the league because his
is Arthur still in? Is he for the Colts? I think Arthur played for the Colts.
Yeah, he's still there.
He ain't making that John Bone Jones money.
Chandler should be all right. He should be able to support.
Oh yeah, but he looking at him like bum. Yeah.
So I like that song right there. A couple reasons. my father played at Ohio State.
Oh, shoot.
I hate the University of Michigan. And
I knew it.
Oh,
I knew it.
It's been from the way they recruited me to how things going, I don't
man.
like this
Let me
year.
get the tissue out.
And
My
I
God,
just
butt
like
hurt.
that just people hate Ohio State generally.
That's why you don't like Rashawn Gary. Because he's going to win a national championship for the Wolverines.
Yeah, I saw that article
You read
you sent
it.
me.
You read it.
This guy, listen, before we get on, let me tell you what I deal with every day, okay?
Full rant.
Now me and this guy, this is my junior rant. I love this dude over here, man. We've had many arguments about football. We've game played together. We've had a lot of success. But we hit a sore topic about this Rashawn Gary. You guys
the
have
first
heard
one
it
was the
before.
rock rant. This is the pebble rant.
Yeah, this is the pebble rant. I'm not even gonna get to the rant, but all I know is I got a day to sleep in once this week, and my phone blows up at 5:45.
Hey,
and when
if I
get
get a Rashawn Gary article, I'll be like, oh, this is going to piss Rocco off. Let me send this to him. Because the title of the article said, Rashawn Gary could lead Michigan to a national championship. I was at the gym. I cracked up. I said, send.
So I jump up, right? And you know if you don't answer your text, you get a couple little... So I finally say, I look at it. And it's that I was so angry. I even stopped to read the article to see what it was. And it just made me more fierce. And then I couldn't go back to
Look,
sleep.
man, if you took Bruce Smith, right, and you combined it with Myles Garrett, right, and you took their DNA, and then you gave them Charles Woodson's pedigree, that would be Rashawn Gary.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about college football news and updates.
Oh man, college football news and updates. AP top 10 poll just came out. Hey, look, it's August 24th right now. We are knee deep in college football. I think this is like the right before Christmas. You see the presents under the tree. There's no better time than the end of August for football because you got high school football starting, you got college kickoff, you got the NFL, you got it all right there. I mean, it's just one big, 8-ball.
Wow. Oh, man. There we go.
And the views, I didn't mean like 8-ball. Like, I meant like the one you shake and say, what should I do next? And then say, choose your own destiny. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Balls.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So here we go. Let me get this. What do we got this top 10 list? Who are we working with?
All right, so top 10, man. Obviously, Alabama's number one. Everybody's like, Alabama's big and bad. They're back. I can't even argue about it, all right? They're number one. Number two, they got Ohio State in the AP poll. And honestly, Ohio State overachieved last year. They're probably, Ohio State looks to be very good because they were a young team last year. And I think, hopefully, JT Barrett would.
Okay,
time out real quick, though. How many years of eligibility does JT Barrett have? JT Barrett is one of those guys. I know he's got 4, but isn't he one of those guys where every once in a while you look at a guy like he's still in college?
He was like, you remember the old Air Force?
Isn't he that guy like JT Barrett's still in college? Wow.
Remember the Air Force? They had the quarterback named Morgan.
Yeah.
And he was like there for like 7 years.
Yeah. Like did JT Barrett take a Mormon mission? Was he like did he go somewhere for like 2 years? You know what I'm saying? Raise some little babies. Come back, play quarterback.
He looked grown. He's in that great goal. He's in that great goal.
JT Barrett been at Ohio State so long, man. He got his own insurance. JT Barrett is like me and JT Barrett is 6 years apart, and he played quarterback for Ohio State. How's that possible? Right? JT Barrett got a 401k.
Come on,
2
man.
cars. JT Barrett got 2 cars, man. One for school, one for the weekend. He is an old dude. Like that dude has been there forever. All right, next. Let me go. All right, enough about JT Barrett. Number 3, Florida State. Florida State, like we talked about their quarterback, they've got a good team coming back in.
But did you have more JT Barrett jokes?
I got JT. I
didn't know there was that many.
JT Barrett.
That man about to open this week.
Man, I can't stand on. I think honestly, JT Barrett is probably 27. Like I'm being straight, dead serious. Like you know how like sometimes they like Dick Johnson article came out like they lost his birth certificate. Like that's gonna be JT Barrett in 2 years, but he ain't gonna be in the NFL because he sucked. Yeah. Like you're gonna see this article in like CNN Money. He gonna be selling insurance. Like JT Barrett was actually 37 when he played football at Ohio State, but we thought he was 22. That's what it's gonna be because he been there forever. Anyway, USC number 4. Out west they on their way back. Big time program. Maybe the best quarterback in the best quarterback prospect coming out next year in Darnold. So they got a very good team. Clemson slips back in there, losing so much last year, but they still return a lot of guys.
Yeah,
quarterback is the biggest question for them. The big 5-star to see what he's going to do. But Dabo has been very good lately, restoring the team, even a young team. Make sure to see what they do. Penn State number 6. Penn State, so that's 2 Big Ten teams we talked about already. Penn State's offense is going to be one of the better offenses in the league. It's going to be very interesting to watch. Saquon Barkley is in that. He's that next top 10 draft running back. You know, for a while they said, hey, you don't take running backs in the top 10. Saquon Barkley is going in the top 10.
He's in that Reggie Bush.
I think he's bigger than Reggie.
No, I'm talking about his dynamic and his movement.
Saquon Barkley is amazing. I'm telling you, look, people, 248-721-8570. If you never heard of Saquon Barkley, please go watch USC Penn State last year. Don't watch anything else. Just go watch number 26 behind that Penn State offensive line. The moves he makes, the plays he makes in that game are simply amazing. They are amazing. The guy is a starting running back in the NFL right now if he didn't have to play one more year in college. I'm sure he's got an insurance policy. The guy's a top 10, no doubt, draft pick. So Penn State, they're up there, no doubter. After Penn State, I lost my notes. After Penn State, you've got Oklahoma, you've got Washington, Wisconsin, and Oklahoma State. Right? So, you know, those are pretty big-time program. Oklahoma, we know about Washington. We know about their defense. They return a lot of young, high regarded players who are expected to fill in for some of those top 2 round draft picks last year. The one that I'm a little skeptical about is Oklahoma State. And I know every year they talk about Oklahoma State being this and that and this and that. I never think that they have enough sustainability every year. They always end up falling off.
I mean, they got a great offense, but once again, it's the Big 12. Their defense is going to be
defense is trash. Yeah, they got the JUCO guys, and they got the undersized defensive ends. I think as the year goes on, they always wear down. That's a team that I don't know why they always pick this high. Wisconsin is an interesting pick. It's going to be very interesting to see that this is a different type of Wisconsin team than what you've always seen.
I think they're going to run the ball. They're going to spread a little more. But Hornsby is the quarterback that came in. I think he got hurt in the Michigan game, but he came in. He can play.
The noodle arm guy. So left.
He's number 12.
Yeah, the noodle arm guy. Yeah.
No. That was the other dude, number Stavi, who left. This dude is named Hornsby.
No, I thought Hornsby was the left.
No, he was a freshman.
He's not the noodle arm guy.
No,
okay.
That was Stavi.
It's gonna be interesting to see what Wisconsin looks like this year because they're coming in as a top 10 team. And you got Michigan right after them at 11, but we won't go too far in there.
Well, we have some other notables. We have Michigan at number 11. So nobody should cry about Michigan being 11. I'm not. Michigan State was number 44. Western Michigan was number 83. Eastern Michigan 102. And Central Michigan 106. That's for the state. Now, for me, Purdue number 84, which is not good, but you know what? We're working on it. But what makes me happy is that Bowling Green State University.
I knew it was coming.
Was number 114.
Hey, look, we got to bounce back. Like I said, when my man Dino Babers left for Syracuse, I was really disappointed. And the staff is down there now. You know, I told you, you was down there last year. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see if this Texas Tech staff can do something. My alma mater is struggling a little bit, but we play Michigan State next Saturday.
What's the record against Purdue? I forgot.
They're 3-0. Ironically, they are 3-0 all time against Purdue, and that's really all that matters, right?
And Mr. Foggio was not on the field at that time, so me, I'm undefeated against.
Allegedly. Well,
so what we got next is So to finish this up, we were not going to be able to finish this, but. I wanted to talk about this, so I know when I sent you the notes, you probably said, what? This is the rankings of college football's fan happiness, and they factored this in by the Fan Happiness Index data. And so what this data was, it came down to six things in their methodology. Program power, which is a combination of the strength of the record from 2012 to 16 compared to their current history right now. Rivalry dominance, coaching stability, recruiting trend, the difference in percentages of 5, 4, and 3-star athletes, revenue growth, and basically it's charted between 2000 and 2015, which is data they derived from the Department of Education, Equity, and Athletics database. That's a mouthful. And then their Twitter buzz, so percentage of tweets from fans that are positive based on social media analysis, right? So that's how these things were factored into the ranking of college football fan happiness for their teams. All right. So I'm gonna give you the top 10, and then I'll get a couple of those in there. So number 1 was Ohio State. And if you've ever been down there, they're a bunch of lunatics. Don't ever go down there during Michigan week. I went down there with a buddy, and he told me to keep my car parked in. I've been in this rivalry. My dad played Ohio State, but I'd never been down there for a game other than the game I played in. and I had to park my car. He's like, if you don't park your car, man, they're going to flip it. I'm like, whatever, man. Go downtown Columbus, and there's cars all flipped over everywhere, and it's cars that all have Michigan plates. So I appreciate it.
And I guess what number 2 is, though?
What was that?
Is it Texas?
No, number 2 is Florida State. Once again, that's another big, I'm looking at with the record and then obviously the financial. Number 3 is, now there's some question marks on this list, and like I said, we can't get to all of it today, but Alabama's number 3. There's no pro team down there. They are the pro team, so there's a lot of revenue, a lot of excitement, obviously, with the success he's had the last 10 years. Number 4, I don't know, because they said between 2012 and 2016, and that's Louisville. And outside of last year, number 1 the Heisman, but their record has been, you talk about post Bobby Petrino before he came back. They were just an average. They were not in that span of time.
Charlie Strong. When Charlie Strong was there, that's when he got the Texas job.
You're right.
So
you're right. But
they've been pretty good.
To be number 4 on that list.
That's crazy though, because that's not a big market. You would think that would be because
it's a gutter. Louisville's a gutter. Anybody been down? Louisville's a gutter. You ever been down there? It's a gutter.
Rocco Foggio's remarks do not reflect those of the Rock and Turk Sports Show.
But they are
We
true.
love Louisville. Like, I've been to Kentucky Derby, man. Louisville downtown is nice, man. Actually, I told you, I stayed there.
Don't say you got business down there. You trying to save yourself? What's going on?
I got business down there.
Okay.
All right.
So 5, which I don't understand at all, is Kansas State. If you've ever been to Manhattan, Kansas,
that's
there is nothing going on down there.
That is this list. This is worse. This list might be up there with.
And this is just for football.
This might be worse than the Survey Monkey.
It might be.
This might be worse than the Survey Monkey. Top 50 black athletes of all time. We are trending in that category.
So we got to go, but I'll run through real quick. Oklahoma was number 6. Stanford was 7. Clemson was 8. This one again, Northwestern, and this is just off football. We're not talking about the whole program. We're just talking about football. And then number 10, and they're new to Division I football, is Appalachian State, which again is not a
What is
huge
this
market.
list? What is this? What's the criteria again? I missed
The
that.
criteria was program power. This is all based off of from 2012 to 2016. Program power, rivalry dominance, coaching stability, recruiting trends, revenue growth, and Twitter buzz. So. We'll get into that next week.
We'll have to get back into that one.
This is what shocked me. You got Appalachian State at 10. Michigan is 22nd. So you're looking at the last couple of years. I mean,
all the tweeting that Harbaugh does.
I mean,
and
you
all
got
the money.
Rome. You got to factor into the Richmond era and into
Australia.
Yeah, man.
Antarctica. Harbaugh has been everywhere.
So you got
twice.
Western Michigan was 45th. Central Michigan was 56th. Eastern Michigan was 97th, which is fine, but Michigan State comes in at 115, so Eastern's over that. Purdue came in at 108, and again, 2-0 today. Bowling Green finishes below Purdue at 119.
Where was Western at?
Western was number 45.
Western's a pretty. Now I would say like Kalamazoo is in that Louisville. If Kalamazoo had a horse racing, they would be in that Louisville. Kalamazoo's a pretty cool city.
Yeah, we're higher on the list. So.
But Louisville's not a high. It's not a big time market.
Yeah.
Kalamazoo knows their place, and they are very good right there. Louisville is like the top of that secondary.
We'll hit this next week. We'll get deeper into it. So
we got some guests.
Not yet.
No, we don't have any guests. All right, nobody's here.
Nobody's here.
I don't see anybody. I don't know what guest. I don't know. Oh, this is me. Well, welcome to the second episode of Madden Mayhem. We are here. And yes, I am a 36-year-old grown man who plays in a connected franchise league every night, almost. Madden comes out at midnight tonight, right? At midnight, not 12:05. Not 12:15, at midnight. So that means if you're getting your copy, you got to be in line at 11, right?
Gosh.
And if you're playing all night, you got to call off work.
You're going to wait in line at GameStop or something?
I got digital copies.
Oh, you weren't here last time. Oh, this dude is all out.
Listen, let us finish, though. You think it's all out, though, but listen. So Madden comes out, Madden 18 comes out. You got the greatest of all time edition with Tom Brady, so you could have got it 2 days ago. People think it's a game out here. Well, the NFL doesn't think it's a game because all 32 teams for the first year ever are involved in the Madden tournament. NFL is the first pro company to have all 32 teams as part of their Madden tournament. And this Madden tournament is going to go from city to city, and the best player from each city is going to go to Orlando for a championship round with a chance to win $1 million. So you laugh, but obviously this is big money for somebody, right? Because somebody's winning that money, right? So, Madden, you got work on a Friday. We got, Conor McGregor. We got Mayweather. The only other thing you got this weekend is that Xbox or that PlayStation, right? Either you pony up, either you pony up the $100 for the HD package of the fight, or you drop the $60 for endless enjoyment of the Madden. What's it gonna be? All right, for me, I got the Madden. Easy choice, because after the fight's over, I can play it again and again and again. Guess what? The Lions actually won the Super Bowl.
Listen.
What?
Listen.
Don't steal my thunder.
I'm not going to steal your thunder. Here's what I say. Do I play video games? Yes.
No, you don't.
Oh, yes,
no,
I do. Yes, I do. No. I play video games.
He play Pac-Man.
No. I'll crush you on anything. But here we go. But listen. This is how, if y'all don't understand, you see these fantasy football leagues out here, these guys getting tattoos, and it's not that serious, but once again, I get a text. At 5 and 6 in the morning.
What's the text?
All it pops up on my phone, and it says
Moet.
And I'm like, wait a minute. But there's a I can't really tell, some black and some red and some pictures. So it's a video. So I'm like, all right, what is this? But I think it's a party promotion. I hit the button, and it's very well produced. Very well put together. It is a minute commercial. I don't know what.
It is a
propaganda. I don't know what it is. And it's his Madden League that they sent out to everybody.
It's the commercial to get ready for the lottery. We got the lottery on Sunday, right?
For them,
everybody.
Not for the
who's getting the first pick, right? You think? Look,
that's what all that was.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you got highlights from Madden 17. You rolling them. You got the balls and you rolling it. You got highlights. We got it going across. It was put together very well.
It was put together well.
Which, if you was watching ESPN and the commercial came out, you say, man. Who do I call to get in that? I would do a
special on it. I do a E60 on it.
I'm just saying, we're talking about $1 billion industry, though, right?
But you ain't getting none of that money. Neither is your crew. Are y'all
haters?
Here's what I'm saying. I'm gonna tell you, I love Matt, and we talked about this past weekend when we shot the commercial. When you're in college, man. Sometimes you need some money, and I say, listen, let's get on these sticks. You can take this 21 skunk and let's, give me this $20.
We do not gamble.
That's not gambling. That's just
not. What? Look, the views of Rocco.
That's competition. That's just friendly competition.
We are not encouraging anybody.
You get on that mad. You get on that live. There's a million people that walked out.
You know what's better than money? You know what's better than money?
What?
Pride. It's better than
money. I had that too. Money and pride. And you know what that
did?
That gave me a full belly too.
We play for pride. All right.
Well, your pride and your self-esteem must be in the gutter, because I heard you get smashed.
That's not true, man. I'm one of the better teams in the league. We took a tough one on the chin in the playoffs, but that quarterback sneak, I'm still on it.
Yes, here we go. Another thing. This is during football season, and we're game planning last year, and I get a text. Again, that is a video. Don't know what it is. Press play.
In the quarterback sneak, the guard is supposed to block down.
All I see
in the quarterback sneak, the guard is always supposed to block down. There's no quarterback sneak known to man where the guard is not blocked down.
Giant video game picture, and all I hear is a grown man screaming like someone's killing him. So I'm thinking, did I just get sent? Somebody get murdered? Somebody calling me for help? This guy is hollering because he lost on a quarterback sneak something, and then he calls and explains to everybody what happened. Like, guys, I'm sorry. I'm all in the games. I do some online stuff, and I get pretty serious. But y'all, it works for y'all. Y'all took that to a new level. Maybe there's probably some crazier stuff, but
I'm telling you, it's not. Dude. It's not even. We are not even nearly as crazy as some of the leagues are. That's what I think you don't realize.
It's still crazy though.
You don't realize that.
You said you're not going to work, bro. Like, I didn't go to class sometimes for the play.
My job might be listening to this. I'm not saying I ain't going to work because of that. I'm saying I was feeling a little under the weather all day. It's cold today.
Yeah.
Rocco's views do not.
Yeah, I'm gonna take some Robitussin and call it a night. I don't know.
Just some Tussin.
Tussin.
All right.
So, you know what? I would say, call in, but I don't want to waste anybody's time with that. So,
I'll come on 248-7. If you do have something to say about Madden, hit us up on Twitter. And if you want to know
hit us up on Twitter, because we're not taking the call.
We got 4 spots left in the league. It's 32 teams, so we got 28 teams locked in. We got 4 spots left. All right. In our league, you get booted real easy if you don't follow the rules, but there's 4 spots left. If you got enough pride to get in that Moet, and for Moet, people don't know what Moet means. That means Madden over everything. Moet 18, you got enough pride to get in there, then you hit the button. You hit me up on Twitter, or you send me an email on Gmail. Let's go.
Well, this is my, like Turk said, it's Christmas time when this time of year comes around, and you hear this music. It is time. We're going to finish up our high school preview with high school football actually kicked off today. All right, and so we're going to finish we did Division 1 and 2. We're going to finish Division 3. A little bit different this week is we're just going to give you our top 5, and then we're going to move on to some of the top high school games of the week this week. So I will kick it off, and this is not in any particular power ranking order, but for Division 3, I got Muskegon. So Muskegon had a they were always good when they were in Division 2, and they moved down to Division 3, and they just kind of dominated, and they had a nice little run, and St. Mary's pulled out a pretty thrilling game in the state championship, so I still got them coming back strong. Number 2, even though they got crushed by Orchard Lake St. Mary's in the Final Four, I got Divine Child. They got a good quarterback. Anytime you got a good quarterback, you got a chance. They got Theo Day come back. He's the Michigan State recruit. And we'll see what he can do. I think that they're gonna one of the top teams in Division 3. Third, I'm gonna go to Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Just nobody can stop. Ever since they went from Division 2 down to 3, they just been churning out the victories. I don't know if it's fair. I don't know. I understand they have to go by the rules, but you're in Division 2. You've been competing in 2, and you lose a couple students in the school, and you go down to. They're just, to me, I'm not saying, and we speak our mind here on the show. Not saying that they're not a good team, but when outside of their game, the state championship game, they've been mowing down everybody in the playoffs. So they need to fix that. But they're at where they're at, and they're playing who they're playing. So again, they'll be another top team, Division 3. Next, probably some teams people haven't heard of. We're going Edwardsburg. They're usually pretty strong on their side of the bracket. They had a nice run last year. They ran into Muskegon. But we'll see what they do this year. And DeWitt, I'll round them out. They're usually pretty tough. They had a good year last year. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't know a lot about them because that's not on my side of the state. But I have seen some film on them, watched a little film, and they are a pretty good team. So with me, those are my top 5 Division 3 that are going to push to compete this year.
Well, Division 3 football.
Yes, sir.
I don't have 5. I've got 3. I don't think there's 5 teams that's worth talking about right now in Division 3. I think Orchard Lake St. Mary's is the best team in that division. And I guess I do question why they're in Division 3. I think they need to figure out some type of calculation formula to get those guys to move up. But in the meantime, they returned a lot of those guys from last year, except Ross, one of the better running backs in the Catholic League.
Who's committed to Lehigh?
Yeah, who's committed to Lehigh. But Orchard Lake should be a very good team. Number 2, Muskegon. Muskegon's very good every year. I think that they're going to be just right there back in the same division, state championship run, just like every year they've been doing. And they're in a very good position to do that right now in Division 3. And third, for a chance for one time in a blue moon, Divine Child has got to be good, right? They got 2 players. One's going to Michigan, one's going to Michigan State. They've got 2 premier players on that team. And I've got to believe that they've got enough around those guys to carry them. So those are my top 3 teams in Division 3. Any way you take it, I still think Orchard Lake St. Mary's wins the state championship this year.
And let's not get it twisted. The only reason that Divine Child is even in this conversation is because CC dropped the ball. Now, hopefully, maybe if they get in this century playing football and get some help with Theo Day, you look at some of the guys that had Theo Day, they had Austin Brown. So Dearborn Divine Child is probably going to fall off the map again because it's just not a lot of talent.
Every blue moon they get a couple good players.
I mean, when we played, Divine Child was up there with us, and it was not
Danielson, right?
easy.
Didn't they have Danielson? I think Danielson's son went to, the quarterback. He was a quarterback there. Danielson was Gary Danielson's son was a quarterback at Divine Child. Yes.
His daughter went to Purdue. She was a volleyball player. He went to Purdue.
I just got nothing about his daughter. I ain't nothing about
just
But speaking of running backs.
No, wait. Relax.
You don't know what I was about to say, man. You don't even know what I was about to say.
Yes, I do. Go ahead. Let's go.
Speaking of running backs, it's a good game on tonight. You got the Carolina Panthers, McCaffrey. You know what I'm saying? I'm interested to see what he does in week 3. Go ahead, Rocco.
Yeah. We're in the high school segment. We're talking about NFL. All right. Well, we want to touch down for all you football, high school football junkies and fans. We're going to break this down each week. So we got the top high school games of the week, and 2 of them actually went down. Well, one went down and one's going on as we speak. So first, I'll start with Wall Lake Western and West Bloomfield. Kicked it off today at 4:30. Don't know the results.
14-13 West Bloomfield over Wall Lake Western. I'm surprised at the score because I thought West Bloomfield and Wall Lake Western would be a big point scoring affair. They played a little defense today. West Bloomfield was able to squeak it out by 1 point. That's a big win for Bellamy and that program because Wall Lake is a top 5 team in the preseason right now for the high school.
And that's crazy because I picked West Bloomfield, but on top of it, I wrote shootout. So me and you were in the same.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a shootout. Yeah. I actually thought it'd be a shootout. So I'm interested to see what happened in that game to make it so low scoring.
Number 2 is a game that's being played right now at the Glass Bowl in Toledo University of Toledo Stadium, and that's Cass and Pickering Central. I'm going to I've family from Ohio, know the area, know the teams pretty well. They usually put out some good teams. They're picked to be one of the top teams in Ohio this year. But seeing Cass up in my face and looking at all the transfers they got in, plus what they've done the last couple of years, I just think that they probably got too many athletes on the field for them, and they're playing on the fast
Cass Tech, and they've got a lot of guys defensively that are going to be very good players. Defense always travels. So when you're going into an environment you're not familiar with, you carry a defense, you carry a chance. Cass Tech, I actually think they win that game by 2 touchdowns.
And the thing is, even though the game's in Ohio, Toledo is 40 minutes away. It's not.
Yeah. It'll be a lot of. They'll have a lot of
fans
fans down there. Yeah. No, Glass Bowl is that's not a far travel.
So the next game, I'm just going to go in order of time they're played, is what I think is Oak Park versus Utica Eisenhower. They're playing Saturday at 3 o'clock at Wayne State. I got Eisenhower. They were one crazy play away from putting Cass out last year.
I like Eisenhower.
And they got some guys returning. They perennially, since I've been in school, they have a good program, solid program. I think Oak Park they've reached. They've had some good years. I just don't think that they're going to be able to turn that corner. I think they'll always be a good team. They'll make the playoffs. I don't think they have what it does to compete, and especially with the sheer. This is a Division I team with the sheer numbers. So
I will say this though: watch out for that quarterback. Oak Park's quarterback. He's pretty good. Robert Daniels, that guy can play. So, it should be a tale of 2 good quarterbacks playing. I'm going to give the advantage to Oak Park in that game. I don't think their window's closed. McCall, big fella, is one of the better linemen in high school. I don't care what division. They're going to be able to move people off the line. I like Oak Park.
All right, the other game that is going to be happening on Saturday is Detroit King versus Indianapolis Cathedral. That's Saturday at 6 o'clock at Wayne State. And being at Purdue, I've seen a lot of Cathedral. They're one of the top, along with Ben Davis and Warren Central. They're one of the top teams, being coaching their brother Rice. Actually, a year before I got there, they had played them a couple times. We actually beat them, but they're kind of in that same Catholic league high up in the state of Indiana. And I think that King's problem is I just don't, even in the state championship last year, they just don't have a great quarterback. They got good athletes. They got good running backs. I think that Cathedral's going to probably be more disciplined and will come in and get the job done. I'm going with Cathedral.
I don't know enough about Cathedral to pick that game. So I'm going to go with King just because I know King's got a lot of good athletes. They got the home field advantage. It's going to be a hornet's nest down there. There's not a lot of other games to go see Saturday night, so it should be a big crowd. They got great weather. King's got some good athletes. It's going to be, their quarterback's supposed to be pretty highly touted. We'll see, because that's going to be, a tough test early. If he can get it done, King will win.
I think he's an athlete. I think he'd be an athlete.
He's got a big arm. I've seen him play. He's got a big arm. He can throw.
A lot of people can throw.
No, he can. He can throw the ball 65 yards. He's not.
Can he complete a 5-yard pass?
Yeah, he can do that. 5.
Hey.
I would hope. He wouldn't be playing quarterback.
Hey, you never know. All right, so to me, and I think a lot of other people, this is a big game that's happening Friday night. I think it's been built up for the last since the end of last year. You have and like I said, we speak the truth. We have an up and coming program. Not more than up and coming. They've been doing very well, but I think they are the school that's getting ready to turn the corner as establishing themselves as a top tier school. And you have a team that You know, I've said in my own words, I think that they're backsliding and don't know what their future is, but it's still, the name is there, and it you know, we'll yet to see if it's still going to stay a good program. But Friday night at 7 o'clock at Hurley Field, we have Detroit U of D Jesuits versus Brother Rice. Now, I know you can't say anything because, you know, you don't want to be biased. So what we have is, I have U of D winning. Okay, and I don't really, a lot of people have U of D going to that game as the favorite, not the underdog. And you haven't ever seen that really, I don't think ever, maybe a long time, but I think it is well deserved. They have a very good team, they have a very good coach, they have a culture has been changed, and I think that they're coming in this. And also, whenever you have time, just like in college, just like in NFL, when you have a whole summer, you have a whole, or go to a bowl game, you have that time to get ready. Those games are usually, you know, you have tricks, you have surprises, but you also have everybody's fresh and ready to go. So my pick is U of D, in which most people say upset. I don't think it is, but that's what we have. I don't know what the game is going to be, but I think there is that's what it has. And to segue to that, we have the U of D head coach, Oscar, I don't want to butcher, Olejniczak, correct?
Olejniczak. Welcome to the show.
Thank you,
Coach.
Thank you very much.
And we also have their, I don't want to make him blush, we call him superstar, we'll say highly touted running back Elijah Collins.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Well, okay.
All right. Well, what I want to do is, number one, thank you for coming to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, sir. And I think that it's always, like we always talk about this fall, and you also being a former player as well, that this is that time, it's kind of like Christmas. It's, as Turk would say, it's like, this is the Christmas presents are right there.
Right there.
It's the 23rd
right
of
there.
Christmas or December, and you just wait and you're excited for Christmas Day. So what I want to do, Coach, is I just want to kind of, you know, I went over your bio and learned a lot of things about you that I did know a couple things about you, learned some other things I didn't know. But well, let's start off with you. You're an alumnus of U of D, the class of 1991. Kind of give us a little bio and tell us who you are.
Yeah, like you said, a proud alumnus, class of 91. I had a great opportunity to go out and play at Central Michigan. Sorry, Pop PG over there. We beat you to go to the championship too. So,
Turn to 9. Go ahead.
Did you split with Western then?
but no,
No?
absolutely not.
What happened?
Western lost.
All 4 years?
3 out of 4.
3 out of 4?
Yeah.
Get a fact check on that.
So it was a great opportunity. When I got out of college, I actually came back to U of D and was an assistant coach under Scott Merchant. He hired me. And we had some very good years. And then I had an opportunity to go on and coach in college. And went to Wayne State, coached there, coached at Michigan State, and then was the offensive coordinator at FCS school in North Carolina, Campbell University, for about 7 years. So it was a great run in college and enjoyed it, but it was a chance when U of D jobs opened up to come home to try to, you know, coaches got egos, and they think they can turn everything around. And we hadn't had a really winning program in a long time, and so I wanted to come back and try to give everything I had to try to get the program turned around in the right direction. And so that's why I'm back here now, going on my 5th season at U of D.
And when I started, I coached at Farmington in 08, 09, and then took a year off, and then had an opportunity, like you said, you want to go back to your school, so I got an opportunity to go back to Brother Rice and coach, and started off on the JV, but I went to that game, and, you know, not gonna lie, you know, U of D was always a win, right? Check on win. And I got to that game, and that's when you had Brandon was your quarterback, and his brother was playing, and, you know, you guys lost, but I said, well, they're kind of, this ain't typical. This ain't U of D. So I said, okay, whatever, you know, it may be. And then you saw them next year, saw them in the playoffs, and saw what you guys were doing. And then obviously, for anybody that follows, and I'm sure you know what you guys, I saw that, I didn't expect that, and I saw you play against King, and I said, okay, this isn't luck. These guys are playing. They just had 2 phenomenal athletes that pulled out. But when I saw that game, I said, okay, if he's a good coach and these guys are buying into what he's saying, this is the turning point for them. And I think it has been for you guys. And I see, I do see you guys heading in direction. And I just want to talk. We had talked earlier this year, and you know, my first time outside of just walking through the school to coach a game there, got a tour and saw everything, and then you explained to me, if you can tell us about it, you guys have some big plans in the work for some new facilities?
Yeah, you know, down the line, we're hoping that we can work with some of the with one of the communities in Detroit, and we're trying to possibly get in with a rec center and and things of that nature, where we'll be able to build some new fields and stuff like that. You know, it's definitely it's a project that's we're hoping will happen in the next couple of years. We have a great administration, and our president right now is really getting out in the community and understands how important athletics is to an education and an experience at a Jesuit school. And so right now, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to get out into the community and build up those relationships, so eventually we can have a new facility for football, lacrosse, and soccer.
Because if anybody doesn't know, we're looking at the Jesuit pockets are deep. They just did, I think you guys did, was it a $16, $17 million remodeling of the school?
We did a $17 million. We built a brand new science and engineering wing, over 4,000 square feet.
Yeah, y'all walk. You see the outside. It looks old, and like they kept the nostalgia. And but when you walk in, it's like you go from the Flintstones to the Jetsons, because you go in there like their weight room and the classrooms and everything's going on. So there's definitely an all-around resurgence with it. But
well, being over on 6 Mile, Livernois, I mean, premier school, U of D is the premier school over there. The Ports closed a while ago as far as a Christian education. So, I mean, you guys are in a great spot to attract a lot of kids. And honestly, I work with a couple guys whose kids go to U of D, and they live out, Royal Oak, Pleasant Ridge, and these areas, and their kids go there too. So, I mean, it's a top-end school, not just a sports program. It's one of the better schools in the state. So, yeah, I mean, it's no-brainer. If you can get a facility, then, who knows? That's sky's the limit at that point. So I wish you guys luck with that. That's cool.
I appreciate that. We're really proud to be in the city of Detroit.
Oh, yeah. It's a great time to be in the city. West Side, I'm a West Side guy. Grew up on the West Side, not far from U of D. So I'm excited to see U of D. Because, we played against them when we were in there. And the school's obviously changed a lot since we were there. But I'm glad that they were one of the places that was able to sustain itself. And not only sustain itself, I think U of D, if you look at the Catholic League in general, the demographics of U of D is probably what you would want for success. There's a lot of people that go there from all walks of life, from all areas of, Metro Detroit. They pull from, the Bloomfield, the Birminghams, Detroit, Grosse Pointe, everywhere. And, that's what you want in the city like Detroit, to kind of resurge an area. And as that grows, U of D Mercy is doing the same thing. So that's big. That's big.
Yeah,
so,
we're very proud of that.
Yeah, that's good for you. That's good.
We got a lot of listeners here, right? We definitely have a lot of high school players, but we also have a lot of guys that are young kids, the middle school kids, and their parents are listening. So what makes U of D, what makes a good place for someone to send their child there, school-wise and athletically, especially pertaining to football?
Absolutely. I'd say the number one thing is the culture of U of D. We are more of what the real world is. It helps prepare the kids when they go off to college, because they're going to have to be able to get along with all different walks of life. And when you come to U of D, we grab from students from a 50-mile radius. And so they're not just in that little bubble of a neighborhood anymore. So they're learning how to deal with people of all cultures, all economic backgrounds, religions, all those types of things. And I think it really helps them. So when you go off to college, you're prepared to learn how to actually talk to somebody that may not look like you, or talk to somebody that has a different background or a different belief. And you're able to have an educated conversation with them. And it doesn't go anywhere farther than that. There's just two people talking about differences. So I think U of D does a great job of that. Also, with just the way we have our brotherhood and our Men for Others motto, I think, again, it helps them as they go on to the real world. We want our young men, when they leave U of D, to make a mark on this world. We don't want them just to go back into their house or their jobs and not do anything with what they've learned. And I think that's another thing that really helps us. And then the last thing is, we want them to have a great experience. And right now, the experience at U of D Jesuit is not just academics. Academics are really important. They're a big part of what we do. We want them to grow spiritually. We want them to grow athletically. And we think when we put all those things together, we're making the whole person. And for those families that are considering U of D Jesuit or that type of education, you're going to get that. And when you may not realize it right away, but when your son goes to college and he comes back and he says, man, this is easier than U of D. And that's no joke. I mean, that's the way it is. And then they're going off and they're doing great things. and that's what we love to see.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool though. One more question. So, first 10 plays of the game.
Okay.
Write them down.
So we've got a couple more, and then we'll move on to Elijah. But where, with the success you've had and how you're building, the best that you can say, where in 3 to 5 years, where do you see this program in the Catholic League and also in the state?
The goal with our program is always to make the state playoffs and to go far in the state playoffs. That's the number one goal every year, and with the ultimate goal being the state championship. That's never going to change as long as I'm a coach there. When I first arrived there, they didn't even talk about state playoffs. They just wanted to be competitive. That's not what we're about anymore. We feel every time we step on the field that we can win. And our motto, our team motto, a lot of teams have a motto each year, which we do, but we have a program motto that's trust the process. And when I came in there, man, I tell you, it was tough. It was tough. Guys didn't want to trust it right away. It was hard sledding, especially with the older kids. But right now, we're in year 5, and it's great, man. We can have an emergency where I got to go take care of something in the school, and I can come out there, and they start practice on their own.
That's what's up.
Yeah, so we're in a great place right now. In 3 to 5 years, we definitely want our numbers to grow. But with that being said, we don't want people that are just out there, and hanging on a coattail of what we're doing. We want football players, and we want football players that want to perform in the classroom and in the community. And so I'm not real upset that our numbers are where they're at, but eventually they're going to grow. We have the largest freshman team that we've had since I've been there. We have 45 players this year. Actually, they're playing right now. So we're headed in the right direction, and we want it so that we're consistently in the playoffs and winning in the playoffs. That's the goal.
So here on the Rock and Turk Sports Show, okay, we minus cussing.
I know you already warned me. I'm good.
I mean, just everybody, we're coaches, so
It's the internet. It's the internet.
Yeah,
Say whatever.
but but it's a podcast. It's going to be played. We get 2, 3, 4,000 people. So here's a question. Now, with you adding that, this is good for my final one. Is that you said you want guys that, number one, don't want to ride the coattails, but you want guys to come. Now, with the success you're having, and especially being in the Detroit area, and you're going to start, and obviously you run off a major freeway, you're going to start bringing that. With success comes numbers, comes that. Now, like I said earlier, there's been a couple reports. A lot of the things that I've seen, you guys are favored. If you want to, as Trump says, fake news, whatever you want to believe, I believe, we're talking whatever. This is news. A lot of them have said you guys are favored over Rice. Number one, how does that feel? Because because for you and me, and being a coach, understand that that's not just this year. That's what you've built. The blood, sweat, and tears have gone to the program at that point. One, how does that feel? And also, I know we say it's this game, move on to the next one. But if let's say you do win the game, what does that, and beating Brother Rice, what does that mean as for the season, and also what does that mean from your program going forward? I know it's just one game, but that's if from the outside world looking in, U of D Rice perception, you go in there and do that. What does that mean?
Be honest with you, as far as being the favorite, I mean, when you were coaching, we don't like to read the papers. We don't like to listen to the media. We don't really buy into all that stuff. I mean, because 2 years ago, we were the underdogs and we went in there and smashed them. So all that stuff doesn't really mean a whole lot. But as far as the feeling of winning, one is going to be 2 times in a row beating them, which I don't know, probably has never happened. I'm being very honest. So that's a big deal for our program to put that out there and say, hey, we played them a year, took a year off, and then played them again and beat them. So that's pretty big for the program, and it tells us and tells the people that are out there that are looking at U of D that yes, these guys are for real, that they're here to stay, and that every time we step on the field, with no matter who we are, and that's right, Brother Rice has got a great name, a great reputation, but now when we play U of D, they have a great name, and they have a great reputation.
That's right. That's what I wanted to hear. That's what we don't want the political answer. We want, but you know what? That is a testament to, what a coach is, right? They always say that, they used to say, playing sports builds character. No, to me, sports reveals your character, right?
Absolutely.
And also when a person or a coach. I'm not saying you got to go out there, we go bastard, but when you're speaking honestly, when you ask questions, so that's what I like, because now you can hear, okay, if he's doing that here, and there's nothing to lose or gain here, but he's speaking his mind, then now that you know, I can tell that's what you do with your players, and you can either buy into it or not, but this training's going forward. So I like that. Thank you for coming in.
I appreciate you having
giving us
me.
your time. I know you got it's a big day, today. But next,
Speaking of players,
we're gonna move on
Players.
and let Turk go ahead and move on and interview the as we say, that's the chess, that's the master, but you were the piece on the board.
So we got Elijah Collins here. Welcome to the show, like I said before.
Thank you.
And obviously, this is going into your senior year. And if anybody's familiar with prep sports in Michigan right now, a lot of the press clippings say Elijah Collins, the best running back in the state, one of the top running backs in the Midwest right now. Question for you,
Okay.
right? I know you are a guy that plays multiple positions, and
Yes, sir.
is running back? Are they characterizing you right? Are you the best running back in the state, or are you an athlete who plays whatever?
Answering that question, I would like to say, yeah, I'm a person that I play whatever. So whatever the coach needs, whatever my team needs, I can fill that out. So if I need to be a linebacker, wide receiver, running back, wherever you need, I'm that guy. So.
That's good. That's good. Now I know you're a U of D senior, so now the people who don't know you before you became, all we know is Elijah Collins, running back at U of D, one of the better players in the state. Tell us a little bit about your background before you got to U of D. Are you been there since freshman year?
Yes, sir.
So like middle school, did you play Little League, PAL?
Yeah, I'll say
CYO.
Northwest Cougars.
Northwest Cougars. Okay, I'm a West 7 Ram, ex-West 7 Ram.
Oh.
So we didn't beat Central, but we beat the Cougars. We beat the Cougars. All right, no, go ahead. So you played over there over at Mumford.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay, so I'm very familiar with that program, big program. So question for you and question for Coach. So Cougars is, a PAL league. I know you guys are U of D, and I gotta believe PAL's gotta be a big part of the next step for the program, because you're right there in the heart of a bunch of teams, right?
Absolutely. Our doors are open to everybody. Obviously the PAL, with them being in our backyard, we want to be a part of everything that they do. We want to help them. A year ago we had the doors open. We had some teams come in, in the off season and work out and see our weight rooms and things like that, because they just wanted to use the facilities, because there's not a lot of parks for them to practice and things like that.
No.
So we're open door policy. We want to be there for them and support them, obviously within the rules.
Obviously, definitely.
Obviously within the rules. See, I knew that'd get a smile.
No, I honestly, I remember playing West 7 Rams and some of the guys coming back, talking to the players. And I don't know if you get a chance to go back and talk to the guys now, but, with the numbers dwindling in Detroit, PAL football is still very popular in the city, and they're producing, great players. They got, 5th grade classes, 6th grade classes, 7th, and a school like U of D being right there on the west side, I got to imagine you got access to probably 6 PAL programs right there locally. So, PAL kids going to U of D is not even out of the question anymore. It's PAL, am I going to Cass, am I going to King, am I going to U of D? It's got to be big for you, right?
Very big.
So let me ask you this. So obviously I've seen you play. I watched film because I'm not coaching this year, but when the season we were preparing, we knew you were going to be first on the schedule. So I got an early look at film, and I said, I didn't know your name. I just knew number 4. And I said, who is this cat? And Turk was like, no, this guy is real deal. And so let me ask you, we got a little technical difficulty real quick. There, you got me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I said, who's this guy? He's like, his name is Elijah Collins. I was like, yeah, he can play, bro. Let me see. So who's looking at you right now? Who you getting recruited by?
As of right now, I have a top 6, so I'm gonna go ahead and list that off.
Okay.
I have Michigan State, Purdue, Wisconsin, Iowa, Mississippi State, and Pittsburgh. Those are my top 6.
All right.
Bowling Green,
Go on.
Bowling Green and Central are not in the top 6.
Or Western.
Or Western, right? Or Purdue made it.
We should just mute Rocco's mic.
Well, let me play coach for a little minute. I'm gonna tell you right now, the Mississippi State, scratch that off the list. There's too much stuff going on down there, and just to stay. And let me tell you what, I'm
I'm
annoyed.
thinking,
I'm just telling you like that. Scratch them off the list.
that could have been his number
I,
one, man.
I keep it real. And going down there, I'm telling you,
Hey,
are your people from down
Look,
south?
the remarks of Rocco Foggia is not representation
She's
of
from
Rocco.
Alabama.
Yeah, you
Okay,
don't.
I got found in Alabama.
Yeah.
Huntsville, what part? Birmingham?
Not so sure.
Not so sure.
Okay,
Okay.
that's all right. Well, anyway.
Coach Mullins is down there though. Mississippi State, Coach Mullins. You know, Bowling Green. Let me talk about the Bowling Green tree. Urban Meyer, Coach Mullins. All Bowling Green. He was the offensive coordinator.
Why are we talking about Bowling Green?
Because you know what?
They weren't on
The
the
MAC.
six.
Coach will tell you this though. The MAC is the cradle of coaching. All right, number one. All right.
But I ain't
A lot
playing
of-
no running back. So anyway.
Oh.
So let me ask you, would you want to stay in state? Is that, or do you want to go explore your options or see what's out there? What are you? If you don't want to give me secrets, where I haven't been really following. Where are you leaning towards anybody right now, or?
As of right now, I'm just waiting until I got the opportunity to go on my official visits because, like, I haven't been to many schools, so I'm just trying to go out and experience as much as I can.
Good answer.
Yep.
Because there's too many cats that get all, here's to say, go where you want, go who wants you, not where you want to go.
Right.
And a bunch of cats just commit early and they never step on the campus, so that's good. You've been coached well. I see over the nine. So what, all right, so you staying, but do you have, some guys don't want to leave the state because they've never been outside the state. Is that a problem for you, or just you want to go the best place you feel comfortable?
For me, I'm gonna go where it feels as my second home because I'm gonna be spending my next 3 or 4 years there. So wherever school feels like home for me, it's just gonna be my best decision, I believe.
Okay.
So what do you? I mean, is it going to play into it? Running back? Do you think you want to play running back in college, or are the coaches saying, hey, we think you fit at receiver, we think you fit at safety, think you fit at maybe a linebacker and a hybrid defense? Are you geared leaning towards I want to play this in college, or I'm going to play wherever they want me to play? I just want to go into the best situation.
For my top 6 offers, I got a little bit of both. So Iowa, they have me offered as an athlete. Mississippi State, they want me on defense to play the star position, which is like
It's a hybrid, yep.
And then Michigan State, Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, and Purdue, they all be running back. So.
Okay.
So where's your heart lie? What do you when someone says, "Hey man, you're a great football player," what position do you play? What do you first thing comes out your mouth?
First thing comes out of my mouth. When I was growing up, I would
No,
just.
I'm talking about today, bro.
Today, that's a tough question. So.
No, if you didn't know who I was, I heard you. What position you play? What position
All
you
of
play?
them. You're going to say all of them.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I say running back.
Okay, you a running back, man. Yeah, but first you didn't lead with linebacker. You didn't say linebacker, running back. You said running back.
Running back. You did. That does tell a lot. So running back is probably one
Let's
of
give me
the
that.
hardest.
That's subconscious.
Hey, I mean, but you know what? I mean, it's a lot of running backs who play at a lot of different positions. I mean, you never know when you get to college. You can go to college and do whatever.
Here, what you want? You just want to get there and alleviate your parents' pocketbook, and the coaches there will find the best place for you to play.
And as good as a program you are in high school, as far as like working out and stuff, there's nothing like a college program where you get into their training facility because you physically change so much that first year. And I don't know if you're a young senior, you're an older senior. I know I was a young senior, so when I got to college, I was 17. So yeah, so when you're 17 in college and you work out that first year, like it's like night and day when you come out like what the heck just happened to me, but it's huge like that. So you don't even know till after you put some weight on and how you carry the weight.
Yeah, like that shirt ain't gonna fit next year, bro.
True.
So we got 1 minute. Let me ask you two quick questions. One, you kind of give me a quick answer, but your time at U of D, what has it meant to you? What does it mold you as a player and then as a person?
Well, as a person, it taught me a lot of things. It taught me that the people around me really do care about you because growing up, I was kind of like on my own a little bit. I didn't really have too many friends, so when I got to U of D, it kind of like changed that fact. I had some brothers, like my teammates, they're my brothers, so that kind of like molded me and helped me out a lot because I didn't even have that much support growing up. So, but now I have a lot of support from my family, my teammates, my cousins, my girlfriend. I have a lot of supporters. So.
And then as a player, how's it shaped you?
Well, as a player, it taught me a lot of things that you can't really take plays off because growing up in PAL, kids are like that hit a couple plays, come down, make a play, things like that. But then occasionally, you see them walking every once in a while. That's how it was when I played. But when I got to U of D, with Coach O's philosophy, we can't really walk on the field. And if you walk on the field, we get back on and have sprints and all the things like that. So it's brought a new culture to me. It's kind of like pushed me to be a better player, I would like to say, because like in every drill, I'm trying to be first. I'm trying to go as hard as I can because I know in that game, that I'm gonna have to try to get every ball, try to make every play, do as much as I can, so we can come out with the W.
So
Well, those answers, you can tell that you got a good coach, because you listen to some of these answers about about the team, about what you didn't have growing up, and now you got a bunch of people who care about you and look out for your best interests, and about not taking plays off. Those are very mature answers. So you can tell that you're in a program that's teaching you not just about. And I always say that I know Rocco said that football doesn't build character, it reveals it. But there's nothing like football as far as preparing you for life. Whatever that character is, you're learning life lessons now. I say it all the time. My best friends are guys that I went to high school with, played on the field with in high school. They were in my wedding. We still talk all the time. So no matter where you go in college, these are the guys. This is your brotherhood right here. I know you're gonna have other brothers in college, but it's nothing like those guys that you went to battle with. Those 12, 16 games that senior year.
I don't know. I muted Coach Oscar's mic over here. He was telling Elijah, talk more about yourself.
So
I'm just kidding.
Two things. One, what he's telling you is those answers that you just gave of how I molded as a player, how I was molded you, those should be the same things that you said, being first, competing, being great. You take those same things, whether you go to NFL or not, you take that into whatever you do, work, you create your own business, whatever. Me and him use the same principles we learned in football to help us today. I get up and pretty much everything I learned from Coach Ricasa, I still apply today, every day to get better. Now, last question, then we got to get out of here. What would it mean to you to be Brother Rice?
Beat Brother Rice, it mean a lot. It also mean everything, really, because my freshman year, we played Brother Rice, we didn't win. I was kind of upset about it. And for basketball, I haven't really lost to Brother Rice that many times, but in football, I never beat Brother Rice, so that's kind of put the chips on my shoulder. So playing Brother Rice tomorrow, I'm just gonna come out there and be ready and do everything. Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys again for coming on the show. Definitely going to keep an eye out for you. Definitely keep listening to us, because I'm sure you guys have a good season, so we'll be talking about you guys. But for all you guys who are listening to the show, just want to say thank you, and also that our show was brought to you and sponsored by Beirut Bakery. Remember what I said? Beirut Palace.
Bakery.
Yeah, sorry. Beirut Palace, Middle Eastern cuisine and American cuisine. Here in downtown Royal Oak, 205 South Main Street. Want to come in? They do all kinds. They cater for your pregame or your postgame victory. Go in and see Mo and tell him you heard about him on the Rock and Turk Sports Show and get a 10% discount on your bill. But
What's up, Mo?
I'm telling you guys, this Mo's back in that kitchen,
That's scary.
making miracles, man. It's awesome. So I don't know if you guys got to try some of the food, but definitely get some on your way out. It is fantastic. But other than that, I'm going to turn it over to Turk.
Thanks for having us.
Well, that concludes another Rock and Turk Sports Show. We had, as you heard, we just got off the air with U of D's best and brightest. Their head coach, I'm sorry, I don't want to say the name wrong, Oscar Olejniczak, and their star running back Elijah Collins. Big game, obviously, tomorrow, Brother Rice. Tune in next week, though. We've got more college talk. Big college kickoff weekend. There's one game, I think, this week, maybe a couple more. But next weekend, we've got a huge amount of games, including Michigan, Florida. You got Alabama, Florida State. There's some can't-miss stuff we're going to talk about. We're also going to talk about the NFL, because the NFL kickoff will be just another week away, and a lot of these cuts will be going down. Then we're going to get into the fantasy sports a little bit more. Break down that tight end position. Is Eric E. Brown a bust? Or is he a drafter? Because right now he's looking like a bust. Hopefully we have another guest. I hope you enjoyed our two guests today. I was very impressed with what we talked about, some of the answers these gentlemen gave. Looking forward to the game tomorrow. If you didn't catch us live, obviously you can hear us on the podcast, on SoundCloud or on iTunes at the Rock and Turk Sports Show. Check us out on Twitter at the Rock and Turk Sports with a Z. Check us out on Facebook at the Rock and Turk Sports Show. The Rock and Turk Sports Show. This show will be live streamed there. And also, if you want to reach us by email, check us out at the Rock and Turk Sports at gmail.com. It's the Rock and Turk Sports at gmail.com. Rocco.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited for you. I'm going to be checking out this game tomorrow at Hurley Field at 7 o'clock. If you're not doing anything, bring it out there and come check it out. I think it's going to be a good slobber knocker out there. And
slobber knocker.
Excited to see what our guests can do and see what you guys got cooking on the other side. So
I know what the Rocks got cooking.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I do.
I'll see y'all next week.
Chill.